We have a huge episode today. Triple OGs across the whole pod and Dead Prez M1 on. We get into so many topics with Voice of the Plant, MJBizCon, seeds, genetics, growgeneration.com, grow stores nationwide, drip hydro, Faven under canopy lighting. It doesn't matter what you need as a cultivator. We get you hooked up like family. All you have to do is go to FSOTD.com and let's get you hooked up. It's the same with raw rolling papers and now our newest sponsor, Hemper. So if you want to get hooked up like family, go to FSOTD.com. Let's go.
We actually started, Voice of the Plant started as a music project. If a dope rapper in the culture is mentioning your genetics, it's a big deal. It's a lifestyle that we all have. It's not just cannabis, but it's about connecting people with plants.
The true, real message of cannabis is getting washed out and getting missing now, starting to be lost. It's our job to keep that voice alive, which is love, enlightenment, which is so many things, stays alive.
Of course, we're working together with these guys. They come up with stuff. It's like an exchange of genetics, like the ash plant, the Jack Harrow, the fruity juice, and from that we make a selection and give you the best stuff.
The plant does so much more for us than we do for it. Look at what the plant does for all of us. And you wouldn't be sitting here right now. Love me, I love you back. It's a connection that we have, and I think the plant knows that more than we do.
At the end of the day, I just want to see us not lose, meaning us, the people who paid the price, the ones who did the sweat equity and who hold the cultural currency, miss out on like the big boom.
First Smoke fam, we got a big day today. We got the whole round table. I mean, guests galore. Guys you've seen on the pod before, people you haven't seen, so we're gonna make some introductions, but we have the legendary Sensi Seeds in the building today, along with a bunch of cannabis enthusiasts, cannabis passion, growers, lifelong, on and on. Tim, Sensi Seeds started off, big dog.
Hey, ik ben Tim van Sensi Seeds, helemaal uit Amsterdam, bij de eerste Smoke van de Dag podcast. We gaan vandaag een Nederlandse draai aan geven en ik ga het helemaal leuk maken voor jullie.
I guess if you're not living in Holland, yeah.
I'll do it now in English. I'm Tim from Sensi Seeds. I work down at the farm. I also do social media and community stuff. I work there with Ravi Dronkers, the son of Ben. John is his colleague that he's been working with for years now, and my Transylvanian colleague Florin, and there we do the selection, the crossings, the preservation, of course, of all the old strains we got. Stuff like that, yeah.
Oh, it's cool that Ben Dronker's son's in the mix.
Yeah, of course, yeah, all the sons are involved still.
And then to your right, we got Serge. I know you guys have seen him on the pod before. I mean, legendary, making moves behind the scenes like nobody knows.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
This here. It's an honor to be here amongst the greats. Yeah. Pleasure.
Welcome.
And then to your left from Sensi Seeds, we got Pelli. Champelli. Introduce yourself, Pete.
What's good, everybody? I know you guys, if you tune in the first smoke of the day, you've probably seen me on here before. It's an honor to be back again, especially with this group of guys right now. You know, it's about to go up.
Pelli, your story, I have to break this in. If you haven't seen the Pelli story yet, please watch this. And then the next thing you should do is click back to the Pelli interview. Your journey through cannabis is one of a kind, bro. 170 interviews in, one of a kind.
Thank you so much, my brother. That means a lot. Thank you.
No, definitely. And then we come around the circle and we got the legendary Sherbinski. I mean, bro, first smoke again, here we go.
Thanks, Lance. Here we go, round 3, dog. Remember? I was at the first one over at the old spot, and then over here, second time was awesome. Just dropped. I got a lot of love from that one. Yeah. So, what's up, man? It's your boy Sherbinski from Sherbinski's, founder, creator of Gelato and Voice of the Plant. What's up? I'm here to smoke fat with the homies and catch up on everything that's been happening.
And for people that don't know, Sherbinski, Sherb was the first person we ever had on camera for First Smoke of the Day. And then as soon as it came time to come back around, we were waiting on it, like, all right, we got to get back with Sherb. Like,
3 years passed like that
Yeah.
or something, right?
people are like, what are you going to do when you run out of guests? I'm like, no such thing. All the OGs are always working.
Just happy to be back here and bring the Sensi Seed Breeding Ground project to really, let everybody know what we're doing and catch up with you and some friends that we brought along.
Yeah, and then we're going to get into, we have a new guest on the show.
You're here.
Please introduce yourself, big dog.
Peace to the world. My name is M1 and one half of the Tell It Like It Is, Everything is Political rap duo Dead Prez. But today, I'm here along with my brother, Mario, who has brought me in as someone he trusts in creating this brand, Voice of the Plant, which is his component or our component to, I hate to say give back, but the thank you to what the plant has done in our lives. So yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
Sure, get into a little bit of why M1's sitting here, why Pelly, we got Tim and Serge. I mean, this is like the cannabis Avengers.
Yeah,
how did this
I like
work
that.
out? Yeah.
I think individually we all have our own stories, including him.
Yeah.
And, this opportunity, I was out in Berlin and I was talking to Cutter, who's, works with Sensi Seeds. He's from Denmark and Copenhagen. And, he just convinced me, hey, I have this vision, it's called Breeding Ground. And I really want to get all the best breeders and bring a team together. And at the same time, I had kind of been working on Voice of the Plant and I was really just getting ready to launch it. And very similar visions. And once we started to really talk about it, we realized that it wasn't really competitive, it was complementary. And really, the idea is with Voice of the Plant, it's not just cannabis, but it's about connecting people with plants through music, food, art, and just like we did with MJBiz last week, different business activations. And so we actually Voice of the Plant started as a music project.
Yeah.
And as anybody knows, like if a dope rapper in the culture is mentioning your genetics, it's a big deal, and that normally you don't pay people to do that. They do it because they naturally like the flower. That's what happened with gelato. But so and then when Em and I met through my friend Alex Aquino, and I just started telling him about the vision and really just Em and I just automatically clicked. And he's RBG and he's revolutionary but gangster, and I'm at heart, I'm the same. And really, this is a revolutionary movement. And going all the way back to Sensi Seeds and really how it ties in. I mean, if you look at the founder Ben, he was going through so much that I'm sure we're going to speak about today. But fast forward to where we are now, where the Europeans and the Americans, we've really locked arms, and not just not just through our genetics, but through our love for music, our passion for the plant, and really, it's a lifestyle that we all have. And so, whether we're all out eating and we're listening to music and we're smoking, or if we're out, in the farm and we're growing, but we're listening to music and we're smoking, it's just everything is sort of hand in hand with all of our lifestyles. So, I didn't want to create something that was outside of that, and that's sort of how Voice of the Plant was born. And to speak to his point, it's about globally pushing the envelope forward to, really, as we've all done so much on our own, collectively, whether it's VOP, whether it's Breeding Grounds, I think we're all really stoked to just be together and be part of a team, because this is the one-man sport, growing and what we do is a one-man sport. So I think we're all just having fun, supporting each other.
I just want to say, as the artist here, and with respect to all of these champions around the table, I see you guys as artists as well. Champelli and I spoke about this the other day because he actually comes from the music world as well. Like, I do see this as an art. This is the art of our soul, and you're right. It's connected. So I'm honored to just be here, not only as a champion of cannabis, but also, we are the guys who carry the banner and who love to shout out, these brands and these strains, names in our songs, because it's one vibration. So I can't wait to take notes. Thank you for having me at the table.
One thing about music, when it hits you, feel no pain.
It's bigger. Yeah.
Pelly, how how did you get involved, bro? Because I know everyone has heard of Champagne and everyone loves your new stuff that you're dropping. Like, how'd you get involved in this project?
You know, for me, Mario and I connect on so many different levels, and we have our paths kind of run right along each other. When I first got back to the United States after being on the run, we connected early on, must have been 2010, 2011, and we kind of locked in, and ever since then we've been fucking with each other and just been locking in. So when he told me about Voice of the Plant, that's always been, my same message too, is giving a voice to nature, giving a voice to this plant that we all love, and representing it properly, you know what I mean? And making sure that the message of the culture, of the plant, and everything continues on, because what's happening is a lot of that's disappearing, you know what I mean? The original culture that cannabis is really about, the true, real message of cannabis is getting washed out and is missing now, starting to be lost. And so I think it's our job to keep that voice alive, and Voice of the Plant is one of those ways of doing it. And through our own brands, and all of us, we all have a hand in keeping the culture alive and also growing and building the culture. So for me, it just made sense. However, I could help my brother do his thing, and it's really all of us. The Voice of the Plant is for everybody, So so for me, it resonated, and I jumped on board. And then on top of that, we have the breeding grounds that we do together. Serge with Sensi Seeds, Sherb, myself, Fat Beans,
Cutter.
and some Cutter, you know what I mean, and some other people. So it's just a beautiful thing. Just like Serge said, all locking hands and kind of moving in as a unit in the way things are now with corporate cannabis and the actual culture getting lost. It's important for all of us to kind of stick together as a culture and come together, I believe, more and more now to really, it's very important. I can't really stress it enough for all of us to come together and find ways to keep our culture alive and make sure that this, the real meaning and message of the plant, which is love, which is, enlightenment, which is so many things, stays alive, you know what I mean? So it doesn't get lost. It's not all about money and all about all these other things that is being misrepresented as. So it's just important. Voice of the Plant, is a way to resound and get that message out there.
It's our platform, and I think we all grew up seeing High Times and Emerald Cup and these people that were, we look up to, where we all gathered, and people made edibles, and there was growers, and there was every aspect of the space. And frankly, the torch is being passed. It's time for us to create our own platforms. To speak to what he was saying, is that the plant comes first. Yeah. And I think we've all sort of realized when we put the plant first, everything sort of falls in line. When you're pushing it from the wrong directions, whether it's promoting this and collaborations with this, and I think it's always been about rappers with chains, and after COVID, so much changed, and there was so much. A lot of what Voice of the Plant, it was born during COVID, and it was during Clubhouse. Yeah. You remember those conversations where all of us were in these 150 people in a room, and you can only hear their voice, and really it's such a crazy time, because we lost connection. And for so long, we couldn't see our friends, we couldn't see our family, we couldn't see our grandparents. There was so much division. And when Clubhouse hit, it was our chance that we all could get together. And I remember people were really passionate, man. And there was a lot of discussion about social equity and all the problems with it. And my boy Shaggy and I, we wanted to start this, shout out Shaggy. We wanted to start something, we made up a name called the Legacy Council. And really, we started to work on that, which was really like an idea, sort of like Voice of the Plant, but it didn't end up working out. And really, it really never really started, because I realized that it's if I'm going to do something like this, I can't do it half-assed. I need to fully commit in every aspect. And so it took about 3 years, but my wife and I, we just really ideated on we're both plant people, and we ideated on how do we really give back? How do we create something that, whether it's the musicians that we work with, or whether it's Chef Nikki that is pushing plant medicine in so many creative ways, and Dave Chappelle's Private Chef, and giving 100% activations with mushrooms and food and so many things. I think it's just, we're creating like a real A-team, you know, and it's awesome. I'm just having fun with it. And I want to give that opportunity to everybody that's part of it. You just have fun, and we can all be on the same team. We can wear the same hat. It's not about pushing Blackleaf. It's not about pushing Champelli. It's not about pushing Serge or Sherbinski. It's about pushing our community forward, you know, and globally, not just, we've done so much here in the States, and I think we got the cheat codes. We know what happens in these places where the money comes in, the money goes out, the price drops, and it's got to be bigger than that, you know, because what other states are going, and then what other countries. So I think we do have a lot to contribute to these countries and these different places, that it's not going to be any different. And so, you know, we have an opportunity to control a narrative of you know, who we need to be listening to and who we want to put in front of the camera and what we want to say. And I think it's incredibly important now, and politically, environmentally, spiritually, just all around.
Cultivators, Under Canopy Lighting is changing the game. And with that, Faven Under Canopy Lighting. They're one of our premier sponsors, and it's a brand we truly believe in. If you want to check out favenlighting.com, you can get all the answers to what Under Canopy is and is how it's changing the game. And guess what? You're family, so we hook you up. The code is FSOTD, and you get hooked up with Faven Lighting. They put together a full layout of how you would set your facility or grow room up using their Under Canopy lighting. Whether you're using CMH, double-ended, fluorescents, LEDs, it doesn't matter. Faven Lighting has you covered. Go to favenlighting.com, use the code FSOTD, get hooked up, and change your grow game. Come on, cultivators.
I love how you said it's inclusive and not exclusive. We all, no matter, it doesn't matter where in the world you grew up or like how you grew up, the one thing we do have in common is passion for the plant. The voice of the plant.
We love it.
It spoke to us since we were young. It's helped us navigate the hardest times, the best times.
Yeah.
No, you're 100% right. I said the Avengers, but I really look at it like that because of so much craziness that happens in this space that we do need people. I love how you said the council. I know people would have an adverse reaction to saying a council because it feels like it's up there and you're down here.
Yeah.
But like voice of the plant, love it, bro.
Yeah.
How did you get Tim from Sensi Seeds involved? Because if you're in cannabis, you've heard of Sensi Seeds. Like it doesn't matter where in the world. You could be literally in the bottom of Australia with one light up and one seed. You've heard of Sensi Seeds. Like, please introduce yourself and give us some background on how you got involved in this, Tim.
Yeah, well, of course, I got introduced to Sensi Seeds as a young guy starting to grow around the early 2000s. We went on school trips, and then you get like 2 hours to hang around the city for yourself. And I went through red lights, not for the ladies, but for the seeds you could get there at the seed bank. And so when I decided for myself to make a business make a living out of cannabis, first company I thought of was supplying with Sensi Seeds, so that's how I got there. That was like 8 years ago. Started out in the shops, in the museum, working there and seeing all the things the bank collected and Neville collected over the years and learning the company. And then I went to customer service, and then later moved on to social media. I got into the farms, and yeah, that's how I basically got into the company. So I saw every aspect of the company, from the shops to the management type of stuff.
Is it a pressure to know that you have the most sought after catalog in cannabis? Meaning like guys that I grew up with would come back from Amsterdam would be like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it was more than even the seeds. They would pull out your current catalog. That was like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was priceless. It was like, yeah, we can buy the seeds, but dude, look at the catalog.
Yeah. Those books are still being traded. Yeah, they're amazing with the pictures where you see the travels from Van and Neville all over Afghanistan, where they went to get the seeds themselves. Yeah, and then there was also the collecting. They collected all the stuff from Seattle Craig and Jim Ortega, Skunkman Sam. And that's how Neville and Ben really got access to all those seeds, because those guys didn't have much contact together. And Neville got to stabilize those seeds and sell them through this little advertisement he had in the High Times magazine. And that was really what it was about, to give these plants to everybody. Because you could not get beans in that town apparently, or you had to be really connected with the people and the guys that bred them. And they were trying to stay as anonymous as possible because they didn't want to get arrested. So in Holland, you had the opportunity to grow seeds legally. That was Ben's idea from, the seeds were legal, but the flower wasn't. But how are you supposed to sell the seeds and produce seeds if you're not supposed to grow weed? So he found that loophole, and that was allowed. So we got to cultivate it, and that's where we really got to take your American genetics, switch it up, give it the Dutch treatment, and now bring them back to you guys through this breeding ground project. So it's basically a continuation of the breeding grounds project of what Ben and Neville were doing already in the 80s. Just the big difference now is these guys can step in front of a camera without the DEA arresting them immediately. So that's what we got going now. And to bring these genetics to everybody, you can grow them in your garden, where you can make sure they're healthy, you know what's going in them.
And up-to-date genetics.
Yeah.
Because some people are searching for the new stuff and some people want the old stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys got everything.
Yes.
Like I was going through all the catalogs at MJBizCon and I was like, oh yeah, this is, no matter if it's autoflower for resin, or wherever you are in the world and you can't have, and if it's indoor, I mean, on and on, genetics.
Yeah.
What are you guys working on right now? Like, what's the biggest hits? Like, give us a few that you're like, this thing is.
Well, of course, we're working together with these guys. They come up with stuff. It's like an exchange of genetics. They get ours, our regular strains, or also the signature ones that also are also available to everybody. Like the hash plant, the Jack Harrow, the fruity juice, and
Northern Lights.
Northern Lights. They play with it and give it back to us, and they also give us their genetics. And we do something, and from that we make a selection and give you the best stuff.
Fruity juice, man. We used to have a strain growing up called Juicy Fruit before they had to switch it. To this day, the best strain. Like if you asked me if I could have one thing back, just one. Just one after 22 years of cultivating, what was it? It wouldn't even be a question. Florida Juicy Fruit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on the American catalog yet, but we have the regular seeds in our catalog in Europe. And we're working very hard to get all that stuff also in America. But if you're interested in fruity juice, you can talk to this guy here.
Yeah.
What have you been doing? Working, Serge, or what, man?
I was fortunate enough to visit them over in the Netherlands, and they gave me a tour of their facility and cracked open the vault. That was really special. Dug through that, and that was one of the ones that I brought back. So we made some old school juicy fruit hybrids.
I love this.
So that's really wonderful. Yeah, I love getting that stuff back, working with it. It's like, wow, dream come true, really.
Well, and you can trust the selector.
Yeah.
Like all these guys, everyone at this table understands what good weed is. Everybody. That right there is half the battle. Because sometimes people will bring you keeper phenos, and I'm like, damn, this was the keeper? Yikes. You know what I'm saying? And it's either they made the bad selection or there just wasn't a good keeper in there. But it's like, if you don't know what to select, you can find gems and pass them up.
Absolutely.
Like that happens all the time.
Yeah, and even with the old school stuff, you can make some really, they still find really new popular strains. Like papaya is simply a Jack Harrow crossed with skunk #1. So yeah, that's where the papaya came from. You can still get those regulars and start playing it with them yourself.
That right there is a bunch of people were just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. This unbelievable terp profile coming off of papaya from that cross.
Yeah.
And psychoactive. Like when you dab that, you're drawing, you're writing, you're
exactly
anything.
All these prices that one lately, like papayas, definitely popping right now.
I think the key to this genetics thing is bringing in the Dutch. I personally think that because there was 30 years before we got a lot of these genetics, that shit was already happening. And if those things are still out there, which it sounds like a lot of people still have kept those vaults, that's the key for us to work together. Like, I love this. This is literally the breeding grounds, the voice of the plant, like old and new, young, fresh.
Yeah, that facility that Serge was talking about, like we got the rooms where we have the original mothers. So we have like 40-year-old hash plants standing there, and we have a backup. So if one thing goes wrong with one room, and the other room is also always there.
I was blown away when I went and visited. I'm sure you were, Serge. I was so impressed. Like, you got one room. I think close to 500 mothers or something.
Yeah.
You know, all of them about 20 inches tall, healthy. They're constantly recycling that, and they've got them in clone. They've got double clone. Then you just go across the hallway. They got like a 30-foot little work area in between one side. They got a mirrored, so the 500 mothers on the other side, clones, and then I think probably one of my I was most impressed was like the Russian seed collection and shit, where they had all those. So they were. I might mess this up, but from what I remember, they were, I think in the 80s, 70s or 80s, Ben was entrusted with a collection of genetics that were from like the mountains in Russia, or I don't know if this is on point.
Yeah.
Go
They're
ahead.
all different types. Like it's a literal vault. Like there's all kinds of seeds. You got like tiny little mustard seeds almost. They're from the Mustang Valley, and you got like big ones from like Siberia indeed, and those areas. It's that's where we preserve it. Like those genetics from the 80s. Like now in India, they're not the same as they were in the 80s, but we kept them and we try to keep them rotating and healthy.
And they make those seeds every so many years when they know they need to like make fresh seeds to preserve it. They just have a schedule where they're constantly, and I think, you know, from the 80s, I mean, look, like how many years
First I've
back
heard
they
about
kept
Russian genetics. I've never in a combo in 22 years or on the pod have we had that come up. That's very interesting.
And supposedly these were land race, and a lot of them, you know, are, you know, like hemp, you know, but I mean the same family. And really, if you look at like THCA and the word hemp and what it is, I mean, really it was all the same thing. And there's varieties in there that are just waiting to be unlocked, literally. So Sensi, there's if you talk about like the word we came up with for our project with MJBiz, the vault, right? I mean, like, what does the vault really represent? I mean, all of us have like our stash spot, whether we have one pack of seeds or whether, you know, you've got, sophisticated refrigeration systems with glass jars like this with millions of seeds, and you're distributing this all around the world like Sensi, you know, it's pretty incredible, man. And so I think, speaking for all of us, what Breeding Grounds is really all about, you can only get so far on your own in life in general. And we're all grown men, and we're all at that point where it's like, hey, this is really the time when we're going to do something, it's fucking now. Right, guys? And so it's all, and also, I mean, the preservation of what we do. I mean, I think it's dope that Breeding Grounds means that, like, we're going to be forever part of the history with Sensi Seeds, and how fucking sick is that? Like, there's kids that are going to be looking at magazines, there's people that are going to influence, and that's where my head's been at, and I think that's where Breeding Grounds and Voice of the Plant, like, work so well together, because our music, going back to our music, our food, and really when you talk about the idea of connecting people with plants, cannabis is just one side of it. You know, I mean, what we eat, how we nourish our body, our connection with our environment. I think people, you know, throw around the term mental health pretty loosely now, but if you're looking about actionable things where we can actually day to day teach each other, remind ourselves, and actually do something for our community, it's just literally connecting them with these plants. Hey man, what do you put in your body? Hey, what are you smoking? Is that sprayed? Is that organic? What is that? You know, like are you out taking walks? It's really not difficult. It's simple. Yeah. But it needs, these things I think need to be said. And I think one of the reasons why I had success with Sherbinski's was there was a time in life where I had the vision to kind of see like, hey, this is missing right now. How do I elevate cannabis? And everything was cartoon characters, and everything was like bad stickers and plastic jars. And I was like, well, if the weed is designer, you know, what they always call a weed designer, and this was before this was thrown around, doesn't it need to look designer? Doesn't it have to be like when you walk into these shops and suddenly sophisticated, Manhattan, sophisticated women had a jar or something coming out of their purse, and suddenly these people in these upper echelons started to view cannabis as something that's not, I call it the dirty bong syndrome, where, they walk in a room, they see a dirty bong, suddenly you could be the most intelligent person in the world, but they think you're a bum, and about perception. So, now with Voice of the Plant, I feel like there's an empty space that's being created, that it's a chance again, it's a chance again for us to unite and to do something special and have how many years that we push this culture forward. And I think it's literally, look at like what's happening politically, and we're at the verge of something that's never been You know, it's prohibition for so many years now, and we're literally at the verge of I do believe that in the next 4 years, there's going to be federal change, you know, and I'm excited to see all of the opportunities that come from all of us that have dedicated our lives to this, not just with genetics, but whether it's we open restaurants and cannabis is somehow infused, or bars with, you know, consumption lounges and all the things that we're going to be able to do. It's just, I'm excited, you know.
I'm excited because I can say two things about you. I've been around you enough to know that I always say, like, well, he's one of us, because you are the mold of like solid heart, mind, cultivation, caring. You know, a lot of cultivators, when they embody that, you're like, oh, he's one of us. He's like, you don't got to worry about him. He's someone you can be around, you can open up around, you can do business with. He's not coming in this with angles, right? Trying to cut. And then the second thing, you're also one of the first people, Sherb, that I've met or known or in the US heard of, where you kind of saw that from a bird's eye perspective, because your strain, like with what you created, and you're seeing it from such a different perspective than a lot of us are, because of your genetics and what you created and where you are in the industry. Just, I mean, the wave you created is still going. That's insane. So I love that you're heading up Voice of the
Love
Land.
you, bro.
You too, man.
I appreciate that.
First Smoke family, we're a grow generation where we get hooked up with grow supplies, trap supplies, lighting, nutrients, whether you're cloning on a Sunday or whether you're trapping on a Monday. It's growgeneration.com. Stores also nationwide, but if you want to get hooked up, we have a code. It's our family code. It's First Smoke 10. No matter if you're in store or online, you get hooked up like family, just like we are. Growgeneration.com, grow stores nationwide. No matter the style smoker you are, Hemper has you covered. From unique glass and smoking accessories designed right here in the US, I absolutely love this discreet battery. Super cool. They have a subscription model and a huge website with unique products, smoking accessories designed for the everyday smoker just like you. So all you have to do is go to hemper.co, use the code FSOTD, and get hooked up with a new rig, a subscription box, smoking accessories. Hemper has you covered. Hemper.co, let's get back into it.
Honestly, the more time I spend with you, the more I'm like, man, this is someone that I would have run and gun with way back, you know?
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, brother. You literally are family. That's why with First Smoke of the Day, like, to me, this is the cutting edge of what I'm doing in my life. And I think a lot of us feel the same way. Like, what's important to us, we run our business, we have our families, but when it comes to like cool shit that we want to do, this is it. You know, being part of 40 years of history, and then also the history that's ahead of us. Like, we still got a lot of, with taking care of our body, with concepts like Voice of the Plant, with all the advancements that we're going to have in medicine. There's a good chance all of us live to be over 100, like literally, God willing, you know, but we're living longer. Like 50 years old is like the new 30. You know, people are active, they're fit,
That's right.
they're you know, just life is different.
Mentally capable till an older age.
Yeah.
I get around guys now, 78, and I mean, dude, let's get to business. They're ready to work.
My wife's dad's in his 70s, and he's a table tennis. I mean, he's just the same. He's like literally boom, boom, you know, and he's fit, and it's just I want to be active like that too. So I mean, this is you know, we're in it for the long run, you know, and I'm trying to. I look at the cannabis space, and I see a lot of people that are breeders, and it's a real hustle, right? And I know what a lot of these guys want. Their number one thing is if they could have a genetic or something that hits, and they have a name or a brand, and, you know, that's like everyone's striving for it. Once you achieve that, and you can kind of, like you said, you're looking at it from 30,000 feet down, suddenly, I think if you're a good person, you start feeling a responsibility like, hey, okay, I did this, and that's something that I accomplished, but then how do I utilize that and for the good of our you know, of our community and of the people that I'm connected with, and I feel like that's the responsibility that we have to give back. So Voice of the Plant is a platform that allows me to do that. For example, MJBiz didn't want to sell flour, they didn't want to sell seeds. It was really, everybody in our space thought it was like all the chads, and really it was. Because you could go there and you could get air conditioners, you could get consulting, you could get lights, drip systems, you could get everything, but you couldn't get genetics, and you couldn't buy any fucking weed, that's for sure. And when we started MJBiz 13 years ago, when I first started, it was just a small group of us that were getting hotels and suites, and we were just doing international business. That was our way with the Americans that weren't going to Europe. A lot of the people were coming here, and we started those little circles, and then suddenly there was a smoking section. Each year at MJBiz, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then suddenly last year, it was a big roped off fucking 80 by 80 space where everybody was like a whole festival. So my wife has a good friend, Ron Walden, who has consulted with Emerald and worked with Emerald, who owns MJBiz. And so we were asked to sit down with Emily and Sarah and like the people that put together events for MJBiz, and they were like, we've been B2B, we know we have, but we really want to connect with the people. We really want to make a change, and how do you guys think we could do that? And we were sitting there, I'll never forget it, and I said, sell some weed. And they're like, well, we can't sell weed, and I couldn't help but ask, but Vegas is legal, so I thought maybe they could do it. But anyways, we landed on selling genetics, and being able to do that, and they agreed to that. And man, I just was so inspired. A light bulb went off, and I was like, oh, this is going to be big, but we got to do this right. Yeah. And so for Voice of the Plant, I was doing the music project with M. We were already kind of really trucking through it, a lot of momentum, and then suddenly there was a dispensary deal in New York that we ended up passing on. But this MJBiz opportunity, Victorine and I, my wife, my partner, really shout out to Victorine. She's been, and she really put this together. She had the relationship with Ron. She brought me to the table, and we were able to, bring genetics to the showroom floor for the first time. So the Voice of the Plant, that was my first project, with the music project, but this is something I'm incredibly proud of, because, part of what I wanted to do was, I told them, really the vision was I wanted to have a small little High Times, like a copy of what that was, like 25 booths. Everyone did something different. It was all a vibe, all the main people from the culture, the breeders, the growers, and so we created this vault, MJBiz, and when you walk in there, and the vibe that it actually had, and luckily, by design, the smoking section was right outside. That now they're getting sponsored. I won't say the number, but some stupid number. They're getting sponsorship now for the smoking section. So this thing is growing and evolving, and they saw the value. I think all of you, I'd love to hear from all of you, from your point of view, but for me and Victorine, it was our vision manifested and beyond what we thought. Because we didn't know what to expect and how people were going to reply. And all the people that spent a lot of money, all my friends that I called and said, hey, come out here, I'm doing this, and no one hesitated. And it's not cheap to go and do these events, especially during the holiday. Everybody was like, man, everyone was happy and glad that they did it, and everyone did it really well. So we were just excited.
Yeah, I can't, when Sherb first told me, I'm thinking about doing the MJBizCon thing and actually having Sensi Seeds and all you guys come, I was just like, oh, that would be huge, that would be amazing. So I was like automatically on board. And really, it's just such a testament to, Victorine and Sherb and Voice of the Plant and what the intentions are and how they're moving forward. Like, that's a huge step for the culture in general. Like, getting a big event space like MJBiz that's typically never had anything like that. I'd say it's cultural, because the seeds, without the seeds, you don't have anything, right? So that right there, kind of planting that seed, so to speak, at MJBizCon and watching it grow and seeing that the area, the vault where we were all at, was like one of the most popping areas with people that were in the know, in the culture, and actually about the culture. We're all coming there. Like, they'd be like all 3 days, you'd see like the same people just circling around and like right there, because that was like the spot ultimately, you know what I mean? Everything else everybody else was doing their thing outside of there too, and it was going off. But it was amazing, honestly, to see that all come together. So yeah, big,
Shout out to Sensi Seeds.
Shout out to
sponsoring it,
Barney's Farms. There was a bunch of people there, and thank you to everybody, and it was big. It was definitely amazing, and I could see it next year just like compounding and getting even bigger. Now, especially that MJBiz got to see the potential of what that would do and what it's going to do. Like, really, they needed that infusion of culture there to really, that's going to give this MJBiz a lot more legs in life, I think, for years to come, honestly.
Yeah, I think MJBiz is going to realize it doesn't diminish their value; it brings it up.
Yeah.
Like selling seeds is a bonus. It's not. It doesn't take away. And for people listening, like, oh, seeds. Guess what's next? Tissue culture. Guess what's next? Clones.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can't do weed? That'll evolve.
Well, next you're going to be buying flower there. You're going to have full-on pop-up dispensaries there, and I think it's just going to evolve. And I mean, yeah, that's the exciting part. And we're going to be knocking on the door too. I want Voice of the Plant, and I want my wife and I mean, let's, for all of us collectively, now that we've shown them, hey, the culture showed up.
Yeah.
You know, when M1 from Dead Prez shows up, I think that's officially the culture showed the fuck up.
And I love your transparency, and like Champelli said, it's about the intention of, you know, what you put forward for all these years, and like, you know, sharing this with you know, these, and it's from somebody like me to be able, from the outside, like the way you program Evolve. Like I was able to sit there, and I swear, like some of the people who had shared their narratives where I think they shifted people like me. I mean, so you guys are.
I love the panels.
They were great.
Eleanor from Leafworks, I know she was like, you know,
It was amazing.
everybody that spoke.
Yeah, so I love that it's exceeded your, but it was grand, and I can't wait to see where this goes next, because like you said, keep with the proof of concept, yeah, it's gonna end up exactly where it should be, you know?
Thank
so
you, man.
Us celebrating, so.
You know what I learned? I've never put panels together like that. I've spoke obviously, and I've been on panels, but it was really actually really difficult to just, because there's so many people, there's 30 something people involved, and I didn't realize how much planning. So shout out to the people that organize these type of things, and I put it together literally just in the notepad and names, and but what I loved about it was I got to talk to each individual person. Every single person that spoke is a passionate person about somewhere around this plant, one way or the other, not doing the same thing, and I got to talk to these people, and you know, I got to see who really cared, you know, how much time they were like, hey, I really want to be prepared for this, and then realizing like, and really it was by design, but by everybody, they want the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
They want the opportunity to share what's going on. They want to talk about what they're passionate about, and a lot of these other places, and really at MJBiz, I'll just say it, you have to pay, you know, to go speak on these stages. And one of the things that Victor and I, you know, one of the requests we had, and it was a non-negotiable, was that anybody that speaks isn't going to pay.
Right.
And it was just awesome that from Brian from Vital, and who taught me how to grow organically, you know what I mean? And from the first phone call, hey man, I'm on tribal land, I can't grow with these salts and shit like that. Like I gotta grow organic, show me what's up. And you know, from all the, you know, like Masonic, you know, and Compton Zone, you know, and anybody knows who Masonic Smoker, and I called him, and if anybody knows who's really getting down and dirty, he does so much, you know, just to shine a little light on the homie Masonic Smoker. And I want to tell a quick story. So I'm talking maybe 10 years ago. I don't know exactly, but long time ago, 7, 8 years ago, before anybody knew who Masonic Smoker was, right? I was selling flowers for Sherbinski's, and he bought an eighth or something. And if anybody knows like him personally or how he is, he's a real honorary, matter-of-fact dude, you know, and he was not afraid to tell you how he's feeling. So I got a DM from him, and he is like, hey, this week was dry and shit. Terps wasn't right. Like, I thought you were sure, and this is good.
That sounds like me.
He's like, yeah, for me, like, this thing was up. And I was like, what? Who's this motherfucker? So I messaged him back, and I was like, hey, well, what's going on with you, bro? He's like, I'm not happy. I thought this was it. I said, okay. I said, I'm gonna meet you where you at? He's like, I'm over here, you know, told me in LA. And I said, okay, I'm gonna meet you, and I'm gonna hook you up. And so literally, this is before everything, bro. This is just me. And so I literally was with one of my friends. I went and met up with him. I gave him some merch. I gave him like 1/4 ounce a week. He's like, oh, I'm happy. Fast forward, I start seeing this guy doing his breeding in Compton, plants 15 feet high. And I'm like, that's that guy. We still laugh about it to this day. But, you know, getting him the opportunity when before people would just kind of laugh at him and not take him serious. And I always like, if I connect with someone's energy, I don't care what anybody says about you. Like, I'm gonna rock with you.
Yeah.
You know, figure it out for myself. And I'm glad he's somebody that I bet on. You know what I mean? Because I look at him and he's really a talented dude, man. He's really creative, and you know, I really fuck with him. Like, you look at his page and like all the meme, all the shit he comes up with is hilarious.
He's pushing culture.
Yeah, man.
One of a kind.
He's one of a kind.
So maybe he couldn't go and be on MJBiz's stage, but he was. You know what I mean? And he felt that way. He could have been, he might as well have been on the big stage for him, because he was amongst his peers. He was, and to all of us, like, I never left my little corner, you know, that we had, because I wanted to, but I had everything I wanted right in my little village.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just cool to be able to give people like that the voice. That's VOP.
Yeah.
You know, and the definition is even become more clear to me. Like, that's how we own it. Like, I was even describing, I was like, yo, Masonic's VOP, you know, go see him at MJBiz on Wednesday, you know, and I just really, it's just the concept of it. And it really is born off some mushroom trips, bro. Because when I was tripping, and you ask Victorine, like, especially citrus trees and certain trees, like, I feel like a crazy attraction. And if you look, when you're tripping on mushrooms, and you look at a citrus tree and there's just orange balls all over it, it's nuts, bro.
It's trippy.
And I just connect with plants, you know, and I just, anyhow.
Yeah.
I love that. No, I love that.
It's, you know, even from a shaman's point of view, not to throw that around loosely, but, you know, they'll simply tell you, like, these are living entities.
Shopping spree begins. Cultivators globally trust Drip Hydro. Whether your nutrient solution is in powder form or liquid form, Drip's got you covered. And you know we treat you like family. First Smoke 10 is the discount code. Whether you're in store or online at driphydro.com, doesn't matter. We get you hooked up. driphydro.com. Clean, effective, affordable. First Smoke family, no matter the guest, you know we're rocking Raw and Elements papers. Whether it's the Elements king size wide, the Raw fatties without the crease, so you still get the king size wide, but with unbleached and uncreased. Something we've been loving on the show is the Raw king size blacks, and when we're lighting up, the Phoenix. This is awesome. Flintless residue, windscreen with a poker. No matter what products you like from Raw, you can check out genuineraw.com, and that gets you to all their affiliate links to purchase these products direct from them to make sure they're raw authentic. Genuineraw.com, First Smoke of the Day sent you.
You know, and if you think of plants, whether what we're eating or what we're as a living entity, it hits different, you know, and you connect. And like I was saying about the mental health, it's just, to me, there's a mind hack that you can kind of connect with people. You don't have, it doesn't have to be so literal, you know, like, yeah, voice of the plant, and it really starts to hit people. One of the questions I was asking people in interviews, like, hey, if the plant had a voice, what would it say?
Right.
Just put them on the spot.
Right.
And you'd be surprised the answers you get.
Yeah.
It's, some people get real deep and spiritual, and they're talking about, like, some people get into crazy ass creative answers. And so these are some of this is going to be like a question I'm going to be asking everybody.
Oh, I love that.
And I'm going to collect this, and, you know, on my website or YouTube, and then eventually when I have hundreds of these, and I've already done NFL players, I've already done, you know, celebrity talk show hosts and things, and you get all types of fun answers. So
It's almost like a reflection. It's like a mirror, right?
Exactly.
That's interesting.
I would say love me and I'll love you.
Oh,
yeah,
Like that.
actually, can we go around and actually ask that question? Can we just go around this? He gave us his.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, you're up, big
If the
dog.
plant had a voice, what would it say, Tim?
I think it would say, what's so fuss about?
I like that. I like that.
What do you think, Doug?
I mean, you know, I think it's say love and respect.
Yeah. You want to grab?
I mean, it's to me, what would it say? To me, it's like the plant does so much more for us than we do for it. You know, and I think like that's just what comes up for me. And if you really, really think about it, look at what the plant does for all of us.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
No.
Probably wouldn't be living in our houses.
Only at
anymore. We wouldn't. So if you look at it like, okay, who's done more for who? So, but I just think like, when I think of it, even just right now, just like, yeah, love me, I love you back. You know, it's a centrifugal thing. It's a connection that we have. And I think the plant knows that more than we do.
Yeah. I would say free yourself, and respect. Respect, yeah, like those two hand in hand. Mainly because that is my intention, you know, when we go within, is like, who are we really? Like, be authentic, show up, free, you know, and I think that the world will be a better place if we all did that. And then the respect aspect is like, to have a respect for each man's ability to do that for himself, and not expect that we don't have to be clones of each other, that we can show respect who we are. So yeah, I thought that's what it would say with the plant.
What do you got, Lance?
In order of what's most important, I would say the couple words, and number one would be lessons. Plant would definitely, I get taught so many lessons about life, about people, about myself. So lessons, love, enlightenment, and then I would almost say perspective. I get really good perspective from the plant. It helps me take a breath sometimes when I don't think I need to, you know? It also helps me when I'm in a bad place. I always used to go to like, work harder, go back into the grow room. Oh, you're sad? Go into the grow room. Oh, your girl broke up with, go into the grow room. Oh, you got no money? Go into the grow room. Oh, you got a bunch of money? Go into the grow room. Like, it's not losing the connection with the plant as you get older gets a little tougher because you end up having a lot of extra stuff in life that comes around. So to have that dedication, lessons, love, enlightenment, and then perspective for me.
You know what I felt? I don't know if you guys can all speak to this, but you notice after we all said that how the energy changed?
Yes.
And it became very like love. You know what I mean?
We felt spirit.
There's like connectivity, like a cipher. And I mean,
It's
it's beyond, bro, really, you know, and I think love and respect and all these words that came out, you know, I mean, it's incredibly healing, you know, and I think like when you really listen to what the plant is telling us, it's not even speaking, it's just putting off healing energy, you know, and I feel like when we ingest plants and whether it's, you know, psilocybin and other plant medicines, whether it's, you know, the toad, whatever it is that nature's given us, I mean, I 100% feel it was put here for a reason, you know, it's part of our ancestors.
Yeah, I agree, and I think part of the lesson is like we all, obviously cannabis is a plant that everybody pays attention to, but we have to take that and expound that onto all of nature, right? Everything, all the plants, all the living beings, all that stuff. That's what, this is just like the opening, right? It's like, oh, here, look down this, and you smoke that, that's the perspective. It opens you up to this, to see the bigger picture. And that's what cannabis has always been for me. You might get high, you might be like, wow, look at those trees, or whatever it is. It just makes you stop and reflect and everything. So I think it's important, like, you know, cannabis is that conduit and what opens up your third eye, or whatever you want to call it, just so you can see and respect and slow down and respect the rest of the plants and the nature and the animals and everything. And that's what, for me, that's like one of the primary messages of cannabis is like, you know, reverence of nature, of animals, of other living beings, of other people, just like to really, you know, reverence. And that's a lot of that is missing now right now on planet Earth, right? So it's like we need that more now than ever, probably. You know,
Yeah.
so.
I love that you guys get to demystify that for the world because, you know, like, you know, the layman will look at, you know, the plant and you know, we know it's wellness, we know it's medicine, you know, but in Brooklyn, in the hood, you know, they're not bugging over hybrids, sativas, indigos, kind of how you make it feel, how we feel. But I think more so like we get a chance to see the how and the why and the intention that was put in and who are the people who had their hand in the ground. So then we can have a fair decision to make. And I think that's what I like about First Smoke of the Day, you know, because you demystify this shit for a lot of us. And so we can say, oh shit, Sensi Seeds is going to fucking Russia. You know what I mean? And you know, there's a deeper reverence. So when we do vibrate together, it's like, yeah, that guy is part of my high. So is the music and the food and the rest of the
It goes hand in
culture.
hand, and I think our lifestyle.
It's really the glue to so many things, ultimately.
Yeah.
You know,
You know what they say a hit strain is? It's like a hit song. They
Exactly.
literally say
I said-
Sunset, 41, I mean Mochi, I would go out pink
I think it's the
panties.
same energy, you know, just like when you put intention into something, when you make a hit and it goes around the world and people connect with it, it's the same thing when they're smoking your flower.
And
It's hitting.
how did you and Sherb link up?
We had a likeness of crew and I guess direction. He wanted to do, in Brooklyn, we were interested in creating People Army Farms, which is like this brand that if you bought a bag of weed, you supported a political prisoner, which is like something that Dead Prez has stood for many years. Like, political freedom and justice in that way. So, and you know, because this goes hand in hand, that was like kind of the ethos of what we were doing. Well, we started having these meetings amongst this crew called the Revolutionary Cannabis Committee or something. Right? It was at that time. And then, like you said, our friend Alex brought Sherb into the meeting, and I think almost instantaneously, big up to Alex for bringing you, but I think that he didn't see the fact that, like, because Sherb knew what Voice of the Plant was going to be, but instantly to me, it became a prism. I was like, oh, wow. And here's the rest of the reflection I can give to that, and it was instant. So that's how I met Sherb.
And you're speaking about Alex from Black Scale?
Yes.
Yeah, Alex.
Okay.
I just had to, Alex, Hippie Bill, Black Scale,
Yes.
Bay Area.
Yeah,
It's kind of funny because full circle,
Yep.
he and I were talking the other night when we were in Las Vegas after MJBizCon, and we also have kind of a connection through, actually indirectly through Alex also, it goes back all the way to 99. I had my record label going, and I had 2 artists that I brought out to New York to the Rocksteady anniversary. There was a big concert down in the docks. Where was that? Anyway,
It was on the pier,
on the pier.
on the lower
This
east
is like
side
in
Manhattan.
'99, and I had 2 artists at the time that I brought out. San Quinn, who was a legendary San Francisco artist. We had an album together, and then my other good friend Gonzo, R.I.P., who passed away a couple of years ago. But we all went out there as a group, actually, and our buddy Jonas was with us too. But
Shout out, Jonas.
yeah. So we actually went out to New York and did this concert, and we were opening up for Dead Prez then. And so we got to get on stage. He was smoking the Champelli. We didn't even know.
I've been smoking Champelli since, that gotta be like 98 or something, or something, maybe
98 or
something.
99, Rocksteady crew right there.
And he was, that's
Alex
crazy.
was always connected to them, and then this girl Honey Dip.
Shout out Honey Dip.
Plugged it in. And then, of course, Bobby and all the guys around Rocksteady, you know what I mean?
History, man. History.
That's a fire.
Also, I was just talking about like how I was on the run living in Amsterdam actually when the one song came out, and I'm the one that had where that went super crazy.
It's bigger than
viral,
hip hop.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Oh man, and I was just telling him how much that song really I was like, damn, hip hop's really back right now with that song. And I was like, damn.
You had heard it in Amsterdam?
That's crazy.
While you're on the run?
Yeah.
Year 1 or deep into the run?
I guess it's like, what year was that? 2003?
2000 when it came out. That was 2000.
Oh, that was 2000.
Yeah, when that came out, yeah.
Damn,
I was
so
the
that was
first.
2000. All right, yeah.
I mean, it might have hit in Europe maybe a little late,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
maybe.
And
2001.
Could I give M1 his flowers real quick though, just to speak about when we met? You know what? For those that really know me, like, I did Muay Thai for 10 years. I used to just go and like beat people up for fun, not to brag, but just like I loved face punching with my homies and the Thai culture. But point being is I'm a warrior, man. Like in every aspect of it. Like I'm a fighter, and I fought through my life through so much, and like all of us, But like when I met M, this is what I wanted to do with Voice of the Plant. This wasn't no weak shit.
Right.
It's like I needed people that were fighters, warriors, and so beyond just his persona, like his energy for people that know him, and even people that meet him, like he's RBG. You know what I mean? And he's just truly a warrior, and his energy, and I love how he's able to harness his creativity, and bring community. And I mean, this guy, there's no one this guy can't touch. And I think I grew up in the 80s. 1986 as a 10-year-old, and just 10-year-old kid living in Sac and just carrying all these kind of hip hop and rock and all these different influences from West Coast and East Coast, and hip hop was just a part of my life as a kid. And a lot of us, we were influenced by this, and because I was hearing music for the first time, and at the East Coast, like conscious hip hop, and they're actually saying things, KRS-One, I remember in 1986 being a kid, man, little fucking snot-nosed Mexican kid from Sac, you know what I mean, and just hearing KRS-One talking about food and spirit and consciousness and shit. I'm like, what? This is, and I think for a lot of us, this is also, that's the energy I want to carry into Voice of the Plant, is bringing back conscious, what you hear on the radio now, and to me, in my opinion, and I know there's all different types of music made for all different types of reasons, but whether it's, and not to be cliche, but are the next generations and the kids and the 10-year-olds that have their antennas out. It's like, what are they going to be hearing? And like, so it really came back to the music. It came back to like, the music is at the core of it. Right. And even if you look at like a marketing engine, it's like going back to, if somebody's rapping about it, it's hot. It's going to be hot.
Always been the marketing engine. And I was saying, it's like, not only just in hip hop, but you talk about like, even the Chronic, and I say that from like a guy from Brooklyn who heard about it, never known what the Chronic really looked like, or the so-called Chronic that was being referred to. And so it bridged a gap, like it really was able to communicate what we were dealing with in different sectors, you know what I mean? And if you paid attention, all that language was throughout our music. Like in a time of prohibition, hip hop carried flag for cannabis in a way that, kind of doesn't get enough respect, really, tell you the truth,
Man, I have to attest to that. I always tell people, hip hop has been one of those things, those vehicles for cannabis that gets overlooked. A lot of these artists from the past that have been just big proponents of cannabis and all their music for years and years, a lot of that people just it gets overlooked. People don't realize the part that music has played in the cannabis culture, and and that whole giving it life and keeping it going and keep being a voice for the plant. Ultimately.
Also the musicians that are advocates, like him, going all the way back, the people that were smoking joints on stage or they'd be arrested.
I was about to say, yes, exactly.
And stuff like that. It goes way back, what I mean? So that's just, another form.
We redeem, and I just want to say, Voice of the Plant redeems the voices for people who was vilified, because jazz is named after like the smoking environment, and hip hop got stained because it smelled like weed when you walk in the room. All of the things that happen, we redeeming it by saying this is the highest vibration we can have. And look, combined with all of these things, I think we got the cure. We have the key. So anyway, continue.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Sure. What was the first time you actually, talking music? What was the first time you heard one of your strains in a song? Do you ever remember being like, "Holy shit"? He's talking about my cut.
There was in like, local Bay Area rappers and everything, but to me, one thing that always stick out in my head is, and I've told this a bunch of times before, but I was driving over the Golden Gate Bridge and I was listening to the radio, someone called me and said, I was going over the bridge, I was on the phone, and then I overheard on the radio, the Migos and Slide by Calvin Harris and Migos. And so to me, and the line is, she swallowed the bottle while I sat back and smoked gelato. And at that time, to me, it's dope that like gelato was sort of in the hip hop culture, but then once I heard it kind of cross over to like international, music, like Calvin Harris, dance music, to me that was dope, because that's really pushing it in the direction I want. Yeah. I remember in the Bay Area, I moved to San Francisco when I was 18, and this was like in the late 90s, and I would be going to the underground house, and it was a whole scene back then. That was where all the dope shit was, and we were hearing underground house music at that time that you didn't hear. And I remember in 99 or 2000, for the first time, there was a Pepsi commercial, and there was house music in it. And so like, it's just, these things are always, this music is always pushing the culture forward,
Yeah, no, it really is, and it's awesome to see it really. And then firsthand to have attended MJBizCon and saw the Mendo Dope Boys, you got them out, you can't even get them off the hill. You know what I'm saying? And like, people that really do it too. You know what I'm saying? There's no, look at these guys. I mean, I just reposted them carrying bales. I mean, it was unbelievable. It's cool to see the guys that are so ingrained in the culture come out. It's because it's you. It's the same reason I said, oh, you want to do a 6-person pod? Bro, can you head that up? Because I've had issues organizing a bunch of people.
Thanks, Lance. We appreciate you.
Hey, man, I'm not feeling great this morning. And I understand, like, it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, cameras on, like, hey, we want you to speak. But I knew for you, everyone would come out. And that's why you said, like, it was awesome to see everyone come out because they love you, bro.
Yeah. Thank you,
The
man.
man is flowers.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for sharing that platform.
God gave us all.
You know, not just with me, but with like, you know, probably 60 to 80 people and brands in the community, so that was huge.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You know, it's an honor. It really is because I just want to say thank you to everybody, you guys first, but to everybody that was part of that, to MJBiz, to my beautiful wife, Victorine, you know, who this wouldn't be possible. You know, really, she was like it wouldn't be possible without her and connecting the dots and seeing the vision with me. But just want to thank like everybody that came out to support us. Every single person I called. Here's the thing, I'm one of those guys, I don't ask for favors. I don't call in favors, you know, I just don't. And I think if you have homies, everybody's got like a card that you could like, at least once, I'm gonna do a favor for you, you know what I mean, to help my friends. And I just don't use those cards. And so that's why I kind of feel like I save it for times like this, or my whole life, I've saved it for times like this to where it's like, and what I think why I saved it, because I never want to ask for something and not be able to give something in return to my friends. And this platform gave me the opportunity, gave my Victorine and I the opportunity to do that. And to me, it wasn't about making the next brand. It wasn't about, Sherbinski's is doing great. I love it. I have a platform to be creative. I'm constantly evolving the brand and doing shit like, so I have that and I love it, but it was like, how do I basically create the feeling that I have now with all of you? It's like that, yo, we're on the fucking same squad. And that's why like with Sensi and Breeding Grounds, it's dope. Because like now I'm going back 40 years and I'm going back to real fucking freedom fighters. I mean, there's a picture of Ben that we'll make sure we get up there for everybody to see, but it's him in the middle, you know, with an AK-47 with a bunch of people in Afghanistan, and, you know, going to get seeds in the hills. And so this is all part of our, the thread of all of us now. We're part of that history, and maybe we don't, you know.
That's thanks to them that we're here, and they did it at the risk of their own life. Like it was they were at war with the Soviets back then. And they made, Ben wanted to go up to the farm to get the seeds, and they were sure we'd take you, we'd have to dress you up like an Afghani. So we did that, and he went up, and then there's this picture where he's sitting between like the Afghani warriors with an AK. It was dangerous. They were shooting. Yeah.
But this is that energy I'm talking about with M and connecting. We really are fighters, willing to die.
Yeah, and you had your own little Spannabis of Mary Jane over at MJBiz.
Serge was just talking about being on the roof. Serge, talk about willing to die. Tell us that story about what.
During the riots in LA, we were up at Cookies Made with AKs on the roof.
Come on, man.
Sheriff rolled by and just gave us a salute and kept pushing. You know, but that's our life right there.
That's straight up. Yeah.
Our life's work in the building, genetics, how we feed our family, you know, how we provide for people that needed this medicine in the community. So it was unfortunate to see people like act like savages, go in there robbing and looting shit, but we gotta hold down the fort. You know?
I mean, you know, are we gonna maybe get some recreation of some champagne, or what are we thinking here, Tim? Are we gonna be able to work on that?
Because I don't know did you ever run it when you were in Amsterdam or?
No, you know, I've just been sitting on it, you know, so I got probably about 50 seeds, I would say, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, waiting for the right situation. Right, so, you know, really been looking at getting my own cultivation this year was something that I really own and is my own spot. Right now, basically, you know, most of the places I'm working with, I have great partners in certain situations. but ultimately just having my own space that I have full control of, so I could do it, you know, and that's ultimately what I've been waiting for. And then I've been just so busy working with new genetics. I have so many different new things that I'm making constantly, and I'm excited about all this new stuff, you know, and you know, that's, you know, not to rest on my laurels. Everybody is like just, you know, hyped about bringing back all the champagne. And
Or remaking it.
Well, I missed
Yeah,
out on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like, I think
Yeah,
mostly
yeah.
everybody in Europe missed out on it. Because
Yeah,
it don't make,
Well, and for me, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, it's a 30-year-old seed. It's like, if we know Skunk One and Hash Plant created, like, we can still, you know, it's talking to certain guys that have come on the pod where I started being like, what was Super Skunk? Like, tell me what it really was. Don't tell me it was Super Skunk. Was it a Northern Lights? You know, because it's like, if that is gone, can we make it again? Are the mom and dad available? Like, how do we bring this back?
So like some of those things, like, you know, for example, just to speak to the Super Skunk, like in like '88 was pretty much like the first time I grew, you know, and it was an Afghan seed from Afghanistan that had come over during the war, and that was like what I basically was. It was like an Afghan Kush, but is ultimately the skunk also, because the skunk and the Afghans and the Kushes and stuff are all just like that heavy indica. You know, just like super pure indica. So it's always hard to really get back to the authentic, like, damn, like, what were the parents in Afghanistan, right? You know, you have to be like, okay, we gotta find the parents in Afghanistan of this plant. But no, I mean, I think it would be dope to try to, you know, we've been talking about it and discussing, you know.
But if you know it's an Afghani, that's a good start, right? Right there is a good start,
yeah, you
right?
got the original still in the vault, all
Yeah.
that stuff from Center.
I love that.
Jim, yeah.
And then you see Serge over here taking the old with the new. And I mean, I haven't seen any pictures representing like what he's doing with like some of the new genetics and stuff. You got so much stuff working with them. What do you got going with Sensi and with this project?
So Cutter, Smoking Hagen, Fat Beans, introduced me to the Sensi family, and I was lucky enough to go out to the Netherlands and get a tour. Just learn about Ben Dronkers and his like contributions to the community and everything he's done, his life's work, and that was like motivational. So yeah, I got to go involved, got a handful of strains, brought them back, and over the course of like the next year and a half, I offed them, selected keepers, reversed some of my gear, hit it to that. Selected some males and, you know, did it vice versa both ways, and got some really cool, you know, cool keepers out of those hunts and stuff. Of course, I split the seeds with them back in Amsterdam, and they did their hunt too, and they selected their keepers. So it's cool to keep that evolution going and just to be a part of history, since he was, you know, formed in '85, I think. I was born in '86, so just,
Old to the
Yeah,
year.
just some perspective.
You guys are gonna be out at Spanish, right? This year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Large.
Yeah.
That's when they're gonna be, we're gonna be reviewing them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're,
And for people that maybe, you know, haven't met Serge or haven't seen his episode, flip back after this, you got to watch his. You come from I would consider a legacy family. 3 brothers, all in the space, all lifelong cannabis enthusiasts. I say enthusiasts because everyone has a different role almost. And then even your father.
Yeah.
I mean, that's epic, bro. That's
Like
rare.
Cannabis Crusaders, bro.
You are. And for people that don't know, it's Fidel and then Gas No Brakes, you know.
Yes, sir.
So 2 other, I mean, awesome people in this space. Like someone that I can't wait when I interview. I'm like, here we go. Here we go.
Can you talk about that a little bit, Serge? Like, what's it like for you and your brothers, and you know, like just being able to be in the space and do things together? Like, just, I think that's really unique. You know, just I'd love to hear just from you about it.
To give it the best analogy, like to relate to Voice of the Plant and music and that whole thing, I would say it's like being in the Jackson 5 or something, where you're making music with your brothers and shit. So,
I love that.
yeah.
That's cool,
It's
man.
beautiful.
Happy for you, bro. It's such a blessing.
Pops is a part of it too. You know, we used to pinch his sack, start smoking that. And now we get to bless him with, you know, the latest and the greatest.
Taking Pops back for all that.
And
A little at a time, a little butt at
One
a time.
butt at a time, back to the wheel jar.
But he's also sacrificed for the plan.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that says a lot, man. And I'm just a huge fan of your family, to be honest, which is rare to say. You know, it's like you guys put in so much work, and each of you has like almost a different lane, but you're all excelling together. It's impressive, and it's cool because I'm sure for any of us who don't have brothers or maybe have a brother that's in a different space, it's like, man, if we can work together, you know, it's just really cool, man.
Yeah, a lot of people say like it's hard to work with family. Like not me, man. I got a good bond with my brothers. We have our ups and downs, you know. We bump heads here and there, but ultimately.
Family stuff, right?
Everyone that I know has a brand that says family on it.
Yeah.
That happens. Welcome. But it's also, it's like, would you rather be partnered with your brother or a rando?
Exactly.
My brother, for sure.
Yeah.
I've been through so many ups and downs in this, you know, on the business side of, you know, doing what we do, and I've learned a lot, man. The most expensive business school, probably, you know, more expensive than Harvard. It cost me personally. So, yeah, throughout the years, you learn shit and family first.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to interview anyone on partnerships, it'd definitely be you. I mean, because you've had some unbelievable ones, and then to see your journey through this space, and then even to now, I mean, I would put one term, would be relentless. Like, that's what, when I think of you, I think relentless. Like, dude, look at what Serge is up to now. Like, electrical. You know, just that foundation, that's relentless. Like, no, I'm going to know this too. I'm going to add this to my pot that I'm cooking and stirring. You know, it's just very impressive, bro,
A
always.
single source gets. We're doing our own blanchard too.
Yeah, that wall, that's ours. Yeah, that floor, we did that. Yeah.
That's why it fits so good with Sensi, right? Because it's a family business too.
Yeah, I love it. Seeing, you know, Ben, what he's created, and Robbie and Alan and the whole family come together and, you know, carry the torch and make it what it is today. It's definitely a family. Breeding Grounds is a family.
Indeed.
We're a family.
Exactly.
Voice of the Plant,
Yeah.
you know, makes us all a family. So
That's right.
It's a good feeling, man. I think everybody wants to be, I think reality people that are kids that don't have the support, that's why a lot of these people end up in gangs and, you know, on the streets and things. I think if we could even create that amongst ourselves, that's, again, for our mental health, it does wonders, man. You know, being able to pick up the phone or look forward to an event. I mean, look at our global family, though. We go around the world, and it's like, I see Pelly, I see Serge, I see Tim, and, you know, and we really, it's the same people, really, year after year after year. It's the same passionate people that are, it's dope. We really are a family.
And there is like a whole new generation coming up right now of kids and young adults who are like, you know, looking up to people such as yourself and stuff like that. And just, you know, I definitely, for myself and for Champelli, I definitely want to find a way to try to give more back to those people, young entrepreneurs and people that, you know, want to get involved with the business and want to learn or are super passionate about the plant as well. Because there's a lot of gatekeeping in the industry. And I mean, you know, it is great to be able to give back. It feels good. Teaching and giving back is very, like, one of the rewarding things. That's very fulfilling. So definitely, you know, moving forward, I always try to look forward, find ways to try to give back to community and to younger entrepreneurs and people coming up, because those are the young stars that are going to be, you know, doing it and stuff. So we got to, you know, try to inform them. And then even beyond that, just even when you look at California kind of as being the mecca kind of a lot of this kind of high-grade cannabis stuff, like the world also looks to us also and is learning from us while I'm traveling, I'm also learning from them and trying to bring gems back here to California, to the United States as well. Things that I'm seeing, like you go to certain markets and it's like things progressed even faster, and say even go to New York and I'm like, wow, New York just like in a couple years was like a wildfire compared to like California, which is like just suppressed, you know, they just try to keep the fire down in a lot of ways. And New York is just like boom, like revolutionized you know, cannabis, and I always knew it. I tell people in New York, I said, once you guys get a hold of it here and the legal stance and all that, it's like New York, they're super innovative and on cutting edges. They're going to take it and just take it to a whole nother level. So seeing that in different countries and just sharing information, like Serge was saying, it's kind of like a global family at this point, you know, as you travel around and the plant is just kind of that connector, you know.
Can I comment on that? I love that. But you know, one thing I'll admit, like when I had the idea to do the vault, and basically all these people that I knew that were my friends that had good genetics, that if I got a call and, you know, I needed to bring genetics somewhere, I know I could go and have my little list of people, but not everybody at MJBiz had that list. And so, and like Victor and I were talking, and sometimes like I take for granted the fact that I literally have the best genetics in the world at my fingertips within my social network, right? But I realize, like, if the plant's really gonna be first, right? I gotta like make it open to everybody. And then also, instead of kind of coming from a fear-based place that I'm gonna lose something or something's gonna be taken away from me, let me move into abundance. You know, and Victorine was always telling me and reminding me to live in abundance. And sometimes I think when we come from nothing, a lot of times we go back to kind of wanting to live that fear-based kind of mentality. And I'm just proud that part of me breaking through that for me was the vault, was the saying, hey, everybody come, everybody bring your best, everybody, you know, do good business. And then introducing people that I knew, that I've taken years of relationships and literally just going to introducing people, but also having already thought about what the business is. And even when they meet, how everybody wins, you know, just putting it, and I think like when you switch into that kind of mindset, a lot, you know, mountains can be moved, a lot can be done, and you'd be surprised how many more people actually are more willing to do business with you. And I think like, you know, that's what I'm excited about being able to do, you know, to be able to give back.
I think the panels are so important because just sitting in and listening, I got so passionate about what people were talking about. And I come from a place where I do this every day, and I'm lighting my fire even brighter, right? And then now to think of it as this, the first generation right now, I've been talking about this for a while with people, you can grow up and say, I want to do X. I want to be a head cultivator. I want to own a brand. I want to retail. I want to be able to have all the top brands on my shelf. No, I want to do that. Anything to do, you can do it legally now. So you can come up saying like, no, my courses in school or how the people I want to be around or the guys I want to learn from, it's all along this line, right? Like you grow up wanting to be a baseball player, or an astronaut, or a physicist, or Scientologist, like whatever. Mm-hmm. Now it's cannabis. Like, no, I'm gonna own a brand like Sensi Seeds. I want to be a legacy brand like Sherbinski. I love it. And then I see those brands individually being almost like baseball teams, where you see when they bring on a head extractor, oh shit, now their rosin and their flavors are insane. Okay, now they bring on a better head grower. Wow, look at the flower. Now their graphics guy is someone that's unique in the industry. So now the marketing and branding is lining up with the flowers. It starts to be where the better you put, that's A-Rod, this is Derek Jeter, this is, you know what I'm saying? And now when they're playing on the same team, like you're like, holy shit, look at this brand. And you're like, yeah, they got 8 of the best players in the business on it.
It's all about the people, man.
Yeah.
You got like Harlem Globetrotters as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it really is that. And that's I kind of see that as voice of the plant, because I'm like, wow, look at the names lining up to want to give something to this.
What I saw at MJBizCon and more were like people who were from, you know, my, you know, side of the music industry, seeing the pivot, seeing the analogy, being able to connect those dots. And you're exactly right in like pointing that out, because it will be the same for all of the kind of people who are now saying, oh, this is vital, this is real. You can grow up and, like you said, be this. It's a thing. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's like, that works in my life. So, you guys are really making it, you know, pop, because they're like, yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, and some famous dope artists from New York or whatever, the people that he has access to, we could just be sitting there smoking a joint and be like, hey, Mario, this is so-and-so, he's, you know, this artist, and we start talking about the concept of voice of the plant. you can see the creatives, they immediately, whatever their medium is, whether it's hip hop, whether it's art, whether it's food, they start thinking, I create this with the plant, and this is literally instantly. And to me, that's exactly what's dope about it, is that we're not stuck in the box of like, hey, what strain are you smoking? It's just literally, I look forward to, like, we've done some private shows, just MJBiz, this last week we had a show.
Yeah.
We did a show at the Flowery out in Florida, a little private show. And the energy behind VOP and the way he's able to articulate his words, he has a way with his words, obviously, but it's just dope.
You can say that.
But just the way that he gets it and the way he truly carries the flag now, and not just for Voice of the Plant, but for us.
Yeah.
He's not just doing it, he's doing it because he believes in the plant and he knows, like, it's amazing, man.
Well, I'm doing it for us and people who locked up who can't do it for us. You know what I mean? We paid the price for, and the future of us. And so, again, we all part of the same. We look at all of this shit from a different perspective on the same circle. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up. And, that's actually, he's on the board of the Last Prisoner Project. Shout out Last Prisoner Project.
Yeah, huge shout out to them.
Again, another side of everything that we do. And, we can't forget about the people who have been locked up and still are locked up.
Yeah. So new voice. We are the voice for that voice as well. The price.
We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, I think that's really important for all those that are locked up and for us that are still out here that have a voice to definitely speak and remind people that there's thousands of people locked up for cannabis right now. So it's like, it's an unjust situation that definitely needs to change. And especially for those that have been affected by it, what it's like having your freedom taken away and stuff, and it's not nice, especially for a plant right now that is legal.
Most of us on this thing right here have been arrested for it.
Exactly.
I've heard half you guys' stories, so I know.
Yeah.
People arrested and around the event that we were doing in Las Vegas around MJBiz, and it's like they are true warriors. Like they should be seen in a different light, as more like pioneers and heroes when this plant is being celebrated and flourished in such ways. So we definitely want to bring people home and bring them, have that capacity to celebrate them more than than and this is the table that can do it. Like this is how you can plug in. This is how you can have legit understanding of where that it mattered. Those years you gave, you can now come back and cash in on
I'd
something.
love to see, for example, I had like a very small hand in helping kind of Richard DeLisi, who was the longest nonviolent.
That's right. Shout out Richard.
In the United States, I had a kind of a small hand in getting him out by alley-ooping his case to the Last Prisoner Project. And then for me to see him come out and then basically have a deal, one of the biggest cannabis producers and distributors in Florida, the same state that had him arrested for 32 years.
Crazy.
For him to have a deal there now for his brand Delicioso, that's amazing. To me, that was rewarding to be able to say, look, this man who's given his whole life for the plant, ultimately now he has a deal that actually is putting at least food on his table there, and that's the least, we could really do for the guy, honestly. So
Indeed.
that's amazing that, shout out to them.
I can-
Shout out to Last Prisoner Project.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Thank you for that, man. I came to that board and sit beside people like Stephanie Shepard, who sat down a long time for cannabis, and I saw her at tables with people like Corvain Cooper. You still got, Edwin Rubis. There's a bunch of people who we can really name, and it's just unfortunate that, politics plays the role that it does. We wish we could literally unlock the doors, but we know what it will take. A lot of political steps, but what we can do is raise the voice. And that matters the most. Like,
Everybody's voice matters too,
Yeah.
as you see, like even just small steps. Like, I mean, this is just coming back to me, just kind of like alley-ooping the case to Last Prisoner Project, and then within less than 2 years, they got him out of prison after 32 years,
Yeah,
So it's like
that's amazing.
kind of taking small steps, however you can, to just not forget people on the inside that don't have a voice, and find a way to make a difference and find a way to make noise. You might see one of your friends gets locked up for weed. What can you do to like raise awareness, because these people are in there. And,
That's right.
It's not right. So how do we raise awareness? And first of all, is by talking about it.
That's right.
For example, like what we're doing now on this platform.
That's right.
Raising awareness, so.
That's big of you for being mindful enough to say that, because you don't have to. And a lot of people out here who have been towing the line, when we think about it, they, like you said, a lot of people are only really thinking about bottom line profit, but there is a bigger picture, and you didn't have to say those words. And so really shout out to those families, because there's families who missing their father or brother for Christmas, over this plant, over a fucking plant.
Just to speak to that, a lot of people's families, I'm sure people's families were affected, and so many people that are listening to us are going to be listening to this podcast. I'm sure their families have been affected by the war on drugs and the prohibition of cannabis in the plant. And I mean, speaking to my own situation, my own family, I was also affected by one of my older brothers was locked up in the 80s for smuggling hashish out of Morocco. I had another brother in Mexico that was held and tortured by the Mexican army over cannabis. And then another brother who was RIP, who was on the run for 30 years. Like every Christmas, the feds would come by my house asking, looking for him. So,
wow.
So I got deep kind of connection to that social justice issue, and then and even before that, my dad, who was an artist, he was actually growing cannabis. So it's like this whole like Serge's family, a long line of
legacy.
Also not here because he couldn't get into the country because he had his long record.
One thing I wanted to say about Last Prisoner Project, guys, we talked about being the voice, but you also have to take action. You have to raise awareness, but we raise awareness so action can be taken. And I think you go to Last Prisoner Project.
LastPrisonerProject.com.
And if the one thing you can do is I think a lot of people want to help, but in this day and age, if you put your money up, or you want to know that it's going to the right people and they're putting it into the right places in people's hands. And I had a chance to go to the Last Prisoner Project and
the gala
to the gala in New York this year. And I'll tell you, I heard stories directly from people that were taken out of prison directly because of the Last Prisoner Project. And I'll tell you, I mean, it was like person and family, and there was a lot of tears.
Yes,
it was really. It's
really impacting lives,
So, and the way that their organization works, you need to trust, and hopefully you could trust my word and M's word, and that's why we stand behind the organization and Pelly's word, Joseph's, and so if you go and and I hear a lot of people, they say, hey, when this happens, when I do this or something, then I'll give. Guys, even if it's $5, 5,000 or 5 million, if you never know. A lot of companies you may work with, corporations, they have certain monies that they have each year that they have to give away as part of what their company does. So, reach out to your human resource, department. You can just ask them, like, hey, do we have funds to give to nonprofits? And you'd be surprised that even if it's a small amount, $1,000, it adds up. But that's one way that you could directly help.
And I want to say that, that's
money. It doesn't happen.
You're exactly right. And if anybody wants to know what happens with the money, we free people. You know what I mean? Literally, it goes on the books of people, people see their families, and times when they need to see them, money goes directly on their books. It goes towards legal fees, and people act like there are people coming home today for cannabis crimes, literally getting freed. I wish I knew the names, but some are coming home literally next week by Christmas, and so this is happening in some ways great, as you can see the testimonies, but not fast enough. You know what I mean? Based on what's happening right now, there's still thousands and thousands of people who could, literally be home, really at the sign of a pen if it was Biden or, who knows if we had a wing of a prayer, a wing and a prayer under what Trump would do. Trump has freed some people, but realistically, it's happening, and you can't. It's courageous of you to take this time to say, yo. give, because when you do, people like us match that with action. We match it with our ability. Other corporations match that, and all your money does is go towards that. And so I just want to shout out to you for saying that.
Shout out to Lance too, brother.
Yeah. Thank you for giving this platform. You know.
We talk about platforms.
Yeah, you gave us this.
Shout out
Yeah.
before I forget. Like you've created what you've done with First Spoke of the Day, bro. Is I'm proud of you, bro.
It's
like, I
amazing.
think we all are.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's just
Yeah.
me loving you guys, man. To be totally honest, it's me loving the industry and then loving all the players in the industry so much that I'm like, you know, from the East Coast as a kid, honestly, coming up through college, like, dude, one day I'm gonna meet Kenji. You know, I think it's literally, I start to picture Mr. Miyagi. I hear all these stories and I'm like, he's got to look like Mr. Miyagi after all these stories. Like, but it's just, it's me being a fan of you guys and then loving you because I know what it took to get where I got or where I'm going. And I know where it took then for everybody to get where they're going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that dedication does not come easy. Doesn't matter what you got going on in your life or what your family says you should be doing or what you actually have to do to make money versus what you want to be doing. Like there's so many. So like to know that each of us connect on that level and then to be like, I get to have convos and hear about Pelly being on the run for 8 years or something.
Crazy.
And then to hear about Serge's family and how they've dedicated literally, 2 generations, 4 or 5 people to the plant more than. And then you go to Tim in Sensi Seeds and Ben Dronkers and Neville and what they did for cannabis and how many Americans had to flee America. Because you start to meet all these legends in Amsterdam. You're like, he's from New York. I'm like, what?
Crazy.
Soma's from New York? And I'm like, Soma's from... And they exactly DNA. And you realize like that was a safe haven because they were okay with like, no, come on.
There's a very cool video on YouTube. I think it's like from the Max Random Lost tape, and you'll find it. It's like the Cannabis Castle parties that were legendary, and you got like everybody. If you watch, you see like all the old school heroes coming there.
Castle party.
Soma being there with Jackie came over. He says, yeah, that was the reason how we came over, and we wanted to be close to that. Yeah, so it's. And for me now to see those guys on a daily basis, like Mila, Soma, now like him with Mac Dre, we heard about Champelli trees.
Actually,
Already sees me with the
Amsterdam.
Champelli trees. Now we got Death Row coming also into the Breeding Grounds family. I think.
you want to announce that, Tim, and just tell them what was a member of the fam?
Yeah, we got 3 new members
I saw
actually.
that jar. Okay.
Death Row, powered by Smokers, my man AK, Shaggy, and of course Snoop, Tiffany. They're great. Very proud to get them into the project. Already made some very nice strains that you're also gonna test in Spain when you're there. We got Leo and Professor Q from Aficionado joining the project. DNA, Don and Aaron. So it keeps getting better and better.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kudos.
About AK, for anyone listening, if you're interested in diving into AK's journey too, we have an episode with him and like another awesome fucking one of us.
Yeah,
like,
legend.
A journey too, another guy who's been through a journey to
Yeah.
get here. You know what I'm saying? And that's awesome to see that you're opening the family up.
Exactly. So it looks very bright, the future. Yeah.
You got any death row stories, cannabis, anything?
All I gotta say is shout out to Big Dog, man. Shout out to my brother James Wade over here in the back, and my brother Zaid. Both LA who cut these streets heavy with my Outlaws family, RBG family. But we definitely connected to Dog and Dre, and we even make these papers connected with them. But I just gotta say, I love. They are. Imagine who these people are. They're like icons. Like for you to be able to connect and help push these legacies forward, really help us to break the barriers. So I love them. I got Snoop on a couple of songs coming out that might come out, with some new Dead Prez music, who knows, but yeah.
Back to the Chronic, I mean,
Yeah.
if anybody was like, Death Row, how does that, you go back to the Chronic, and that, right after that, the influence that had, I think we were talking about how
Yeah.
Beginning of Ready to Die.
Yeah, I mean, we listen to, I mean, it's funny, we went to that, because Biggie, if you listen to Ready to Die, the intro, first 20 seconds is him listening to Snoop, to listening to the Chronic in a jail cell. You know, this is Brooklyn's own Biggie's finest, Jay-Z's best friend, listening to this West Coast Chronic shit, choking on Chronic. And you know, shit, calling it the Chronic. Think about the influence that happened there. So people just need to take it in, go back and listen to Ready to Die. And I think you really understand like where this plant, the role that it plays in like just influencing our culture. It's just huge. You know?
Let me set the scene. We're in a hotel over MJBizCon, right? You and I, we're all hanging out. And then you're like, hey, you want to hear some new music? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, what are you fucking kidding me? And you guys drop 2 bangers.
Yeah.
And then you explain that voice of the plant with the music and its role that it's starting to. I don't know how much you can talk about with that, but like, please dive into a little bit of that, because like everything I heard is something I would put on my phone and play it my way. Like 100%. It's not just something I'm like, oh, that's dope, bro. Good job. It's literally like, this is fire, bro. How is this just on your phone?
You know, just going back to what I was saying earlier, like at that time and like the energy in the 80s and hip hop, and I mean, he still carries that forward. Even the show, like it's when hip hop drops, it just gives you a feeling the same as reggae, you know. And so the genre I kind of gravitated towards was reggae and hip hop, and that's why I actually chose. I thought M was the perfect person, because if anybody doesn't really know, like M kind of sits at the center of it. You know what I mean? It's not, and just who he is as a person, that's why people gravitate. He's an incredibly creative person. He's very just, and so it was just so, when you work with someone like that, if you're vibing with someone like that, then the projects are moving forward.
His energy's infectious.
These are the kind of people
it's community, man.
Yeah, because it's never who's right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, that's a vibe.
The big idea. Yeah.
That's dope. And if it's not dope, he'll tell you, no, that ain't.
Yeah.
And so when you trust someone like that and you're vibing, then I don't know, man. We really just have fun.
We do.
And with the music, like we went in the studio, and shout out to fucking Dead Prez for the first time in 10 years, like you and Stick.
We're coming out with a new album.
Just talk about that, because you know, that's how we kind of started vibing.
We did.
Energy, and you guys are working on your project.
That's exactly what I want to say, is that shout out to him for enhancing that environment. Yeah, we getting back in the lab. We celebrating 25 years of It's Bigger Than Hip Hop and Let's Get Free and Dead Prez. And so for the last little while, we've been cooking up, you know, with some of the old heads and you know, some really great producers sitting down with Atlanta. Yeah, shout out to some of the artists. Well, thought always has been part of like our mindset. So when we said we were gonna go back in, Tariq was like, I want to be on every song that I can. And he, at this point, almost is. But shout out to people like Pharaoh Monch, and shout out to, Killer Mike and CeeLo and a bunch of people who came through as we moved that to different cities. But in New York, Sherb was sat with us and through many studio sessions and us going over songs, and it helped us to be able to really see Voice of the Plant even more clearer, actually, because out of that we were able to envision how would we ideate about making a song that would celebrate the plant. Yeah, because Dead Prez is working on our joint, but yeah, but because we are songwriters, and I would say after 30 years, masterful songwriters like Sean C and 88 Keys in the room and Stick, my partner, and people with ears who are tuned in, you get to understand what you really need. And so shout out to you. You're a music aficionado, a listener. He's not, he's a musician. I mean, in the sessions you playing, he literally beating drums, you know what I'm saying, through the sessions. So as a a musician in your own ilk, seeing what Voice of the Plant is crazy. He's pulled people into the project like Devin and Dude. We got a banger with Devin, you know what I'm saying? like, and you pulled Don Corleone in from Jamaica. I'm Jamaican. We understand, this is food in Jamaica. This ain't, like that's what we call food, And so you pull Don in, and he with Tyrus, created some crazy shit. Shout out to Tyrus Riley, Philly Freeway. Shout out to Freeway. You know what I'm saying?
This is the first
fucking
project,
with us.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, because just to get the energy of the music side, like I never pull those cards, right? So all my friends, I'm always sharing flour. I'm always just every time they love, love, love. I call them like, yo, Freeway. We're talking about a fucking legend, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Philly
come
Freeway,
on.
You know what I mean? Got to the key to the city.
Even though what we do is wrong. That joint
And
is
I
a
called him,
banger.
and bro, I just said, hey man, I'm making some music. I want to do this for the plan. I want to put the plan first. You know, like I really want to bring us all together. Before I can even finish the sentence, I got you, bro. Whatever you
Boom.
need, just love. And within 2 weeks, he's just sent me a fucking banger.
It's a
And
banger.
no money, no this, do whatever. And they trust me. And I told them, holding on to these things. And then that helps because then when I go and I meet with them, I'm like, hey, I'm doing this music project. Oh yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing?
He bringing people. He already bringing shit.
And then they play
Bangers.
something, and then now I have a song with them and Dead Prez and Devin the Dude, and then it just all that energy. And there was people that were like, yeah, we'll do a music project with you, sure. What's up? We're gonna need this up front. We're gonna need 50. We're gonna need this. And right away, I was like, this is not the vibe. This is not the energy. And when we got together, it was sort of like, he's like, hey, let me get Erica Badu. Let me get.
Yeah, let's see who we can call.
On my first, never really been in the studio. On my first time hanging out with them, next thing you know, I got Black Thought in the studio. I got Dead Prez. I got
Tech from boot camp clip.
I got
you
literally
know.
like I got AL.
Yeah. AL lyrics.
Everybody, nobody's out asking. It's not even. We're just in there, just making hip hop music,
Creating.
And
For the love.
that's the energy we want to put back out.
Yeah.
For us, not just for. Forget like the legacy and for the kids, for us. You know what I mean? The stuff I want to pop in and listen to. It's not this noise that I hear coming from people, you know, like these days. Call me old, but I like something with the right energy. So, I mean, Dawn with Taurus Riley.
Amazing.
Hit for us that is going to be long.
I cannot wait for you to hear this goddamn song.
It's called Voice.
It's amazing.
It's called Voice of the Tree. And when I tell people, hey, make some music, I don't tell them what to do. And what's dope about Voice of the Plant is like, you know, I know that we haven't had a chance to, but I know that we're gonna like right off rip. I'm gonna do a music project with him.
We already talked about it already. Believe it or not, we might beat you to the punch. I gotta use the bathroom, y'all. Pardon me, y'all. I gotta use the bathroom. I've been holding it. I don't want to interrupt, but I gotta do it. Yep.
One thing I know is anytime Serge hands me something, I mean, from Banana God, right? That's you too? Bro, come on. That was like,
That was actually read by Mace. Masonic Banana God, yeah. We just got the pack of seeds and popped it and found our keeper and did our thing with it. But shout out to Mace, man. Who's a fucking hell of a breeder. He's got a lot of winners under his belt, like pastures and all that.
you gotta be willing to hunt. Well, welcome to chasing seeds and even looking for keepers, whether they're clones or not. Like, you could be handed 100 clones. Not every one of those is a keeper. It doesn't matter how many strains or who you got them from. Like, it just, every time you hand me something though, Serge, like I'm talking about this joint right now, this hash hole. Every time, that Banana God was probably top 2 rosins I smoked all year. To say how much rosin comes on the show, bro, and how much I get given or buy outside, because I bought it. I was like, yo, how much for that? I try, if I fuck with you, I'm like, yo, if I can, let me pay for this. That was insane. And now I'm smoking this Fidel's collab.
Yeah.
Insane, bro. Like, this is so tasty.
The old
I can
Bro
feel,
collab.
I can taste it in my nose after I'm blowing it out. Like, this is beautiful, bro.
It's the Trop Lemon Zeke, I grew flower. They did the rosin and the roll.
With an official rib tip, burning white, tasting like it smells, oil ring crazy.
You guys taking those pre-rolls to another level, man. You too, Pelly. Shit's fucking like getting better and better, man.
Bro, look at the bag. I mean, the bag in front of you.
Smoke.
Yeah. But I like that you guys are in your
Ay, Dios mío. Oy, because they, you know what? That's one thing I love about you, Pelly. You always come in with gifts too, man. God bless you, bro. It's Christmas time.
Yes.
So,
Hey, Kodak got this super gremlin.
okay, my kids.
I got it.
I got this at Cookies first line. They are.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love what Champelli has. And then the one you were able to take a photo of this, and then the thing's jumping off and the planes are flying. I mean,
Wow.
you're always up to some creative shit, bro. You really have.
Thank you, man.
Little Christmas gift.
When is this music gonna drop?
Yeah.
Though? Is it gonna be 2025? Are we gonna get it this year?
Is it gonna be an album? Is it gonna be a
Pressure on it, man. Come on.
Thank you,
Yo,
brother.
Don,
Yeah.
Don just called me last week and he said that the Taurus Riley joint, we're gonna drop it in January. So,
Oh, soon.
you know, the thing is, this is my first time getting into actual business of music. And what I realized is like, what I realized, and you know, let me go back to and rest in peace, Quincy Jones. You know, he
Oh
passed away
man,
this year, but
big money.
I had a dream to do a song like a "We Are the World," and when Gelato was at the most poppin', and really we were at the top. It was before everybody that came after. You know, when we were really there, and I was like, you know, I got to harness all this, and I got to use it. It was the same energy with what I want to do with VOP. And I thought, and for those of you that don't know, you younger kids, "We Are the World" was Quincy. Everybody was at an awards celebration in LA, and he happened to get everybody over to the studio, from Michael Jackson to everybody, and they made this amazing song, "We Are the World."
That's
you
right.
know? And when I was younger, when I saw that, what was dope is it was like every kind of genre of art, of music. It was every color person,
That's right.
every race, and they were all stood for one thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? That's what, you know, there's a time now that cannabis is being pushed so far. And so through my friend Larry Jackson, I happened to meet Quincy Jones a few years back at a Grammy party, after party, that I happened to cater Sherbinski's to. And when I met him, he goes, "Hey, you know, nice to meet you." And he pulled out a Sherbinski joint, and a Sunset Sherbert joint. And I knew at that time, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna do this project with Quincy Jones. So I told him about it, and he loved it. But then afterwards, he had told me, he's like, "Hey kid, you know, that's been done, do something else." And he like walked off with some ladies and stuff. And I was like, man, I was kind of crushed, but then it got me back to just kind of, you know, starting over and doing, you know, Voice of the Plant, you know, and it wasn't a no, but he inspired me to
Push forward.
Yeah, to push forward.
Push forward. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's crazy? We recorded our podcast, the one that just released a few weeks back, probably 6 or 8 weeks before it dropped. It dropped within 24 hours of him passing away, where when that dropped, he had passed away, I think, the day before.
Wow.
And so people were like, wow, I had comments that were saying, like, the timing of this interview is crazy. Like, when did you record this? It was
Right.
like 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just weird how that worked out, where I didn't realize it till I started seeing the comments, and then I went and I was like, oh yeah, he literally just passed away, and then this dropped like if we recorded it that day.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, but Quincy just, you know, he just inspired, and I don't know, I just love music. Cannabis is like, I'm super passionate about it, but other than, you know, music is like my second passion. I mean, I started playing congas and djembes with my hippie friends that we sold weed to in Sacramento, you know, back in '91. And we just smoked weed and played drums, and I fell in love with it, you know, and just rhythm. And so it's fun.
Cannabis
you know?
and music are brother and sister.
But
Yeah.
going back to what I was saying is like, so making the music is one thing, but then what I realized is like there's a business side of it and the marketing side of it, and now Em and I were just talking about it, like with streaming and everything. Unless you're doing, you know, crazy numbers, like it's really about performances for artists. And so part of what we've been doing, and like really the only, you know, on a handshake, everything we do is
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yeah.
what's the deal here? And it's
Yeah.
like, hey man, I'm gonna get you shows, we're gonna perform, we're gonna do creative shit, and like that's what he does.
Yeah.
He's a performer. That's what
Yeah.
he loves doing. And so it's really about creating opportunities one by one, brick by brick, starting with who supports us. But as we grow, those opportunities will grow. We were just talking today, like, wow, now that we did, you know, this project with MJBiz, you know, step by step, you get more credibility. You know this, man. When you started your show, it's like as each step by step, you know, those bricks are built, your credibility grows. And then, you know, I love the fact that M is such a, I mean, to me, the best representative of any, you know, whether it be a brand or, you know, a platform like Voice of the Plant, and being able to give him the freedom to go, okay, all the artists that he has access to from the kind of music that I love. You know,
Exactly.
That speaks to the soul, that speaks to the mind, and speaks to our future and where we want to take it, and giving a platform for people like us, people like Sensi Seeds, people that we want to get behind that are like Ben Dronkers, people that are doing it for the right reason and carry that legacy on in our own way. And I think that's what's awesome about Voice of the Plant, and just to bring it back to our guests, you know, Sensi Seeds, and the beautiful part of that is it's truly like there's a lot of energy that comes with that type of history that, you know, I think we all like on a more serious note, like we take that serious because we all want our own legacy, and I think like you know, it's powerful. And then also look at the voice of the plan and what we're fighting for. That's why Sensi Seeds came out, and I told them I want to do this project. They said, Mario, we want whatever you want, let's make it happen. And it was just, and then Barney's came along, like, and I said, who's the best? Who are we going to bring from Europe? I only want the best. It's Sensi Seeds and Barney Farms. That's it. You know, and no disrespect to all the other people that have been there as well. But, you know, I get in where I fit in. I fuck with people I vibe with, and Sensi Seeds from day one, they've just been cool. You know what I mean? And whether I'm telling anybody else that's getting involved, I can only say good things. You know, shout out to Sander, shout out to Gio, everybody, and you know, the family, everybody. You know, just everybody's been dope. Gio. Yeah, you know, and
So many amazing projects getting ready to drop from everybody on the lineup too, coming up between Spainabis and Mary Jane, and what just got dropped at MJBizCon. Like, we're constantly working and creating new stuff and going back and forth with genetics, with what they have in their vault, what we have, like Tim was commenting on. So just going to be exciting times coming up this next year. Definitely going to be amazing.
you know what I think the evolution is though, and this is what I loved about the event. Now having a couple of days, it just happened last week. People won't see this for a few months, so. But
Unless you're on FSOTD.com.
Sorry. That's dope. That's dope.
But now it's not what I want to push forward. It's not just about like making money on the seeds, but then now these people that are breeding, how do we go, and that's where the connection with what they're doing. Like now you have all these countries around the world that want genetics. You have these, so how do we switch the business to where we actually really want to go with this? And I think like, it doesn't have to be so, you know, one person or one group. I think if you do work and you have certain things that are unique to you, you don't even necessarily need to have a brand or anything behind it, you know? And now these people, you could have a small brand, but you put in your work and you really have, you're an arm's length of someone that has a license somewhere, that, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. It doesn't really work. People that are growing, doesn't maybe not work for me and what I want to do, but maybe it works for somebody that had a booth at the thing, and you can connect those dots. And to me, like those type of connections are what a lot of people are looking for, because I know a lot of little breeders that have good genetics, but even big, I mean, I'll tell you, like, you go all the way to the top, they have collections and stuff, but they don't know how to monetize it. And so part of what we're building with Voice of the Plant collectively, and what we stand for, and my brother's first. So like all these opportunities, everything are within Sensi, within each other. We're all helping each other. And so that means if I need genetics from Pelly, if I need 4 or 5 things from him, because that's going to help me with something, and he needs something, like that's what we do, you know. And I think it goes beyond us. That's what we need to do, like then in the vault, and then we open it up to 20 other brands, you know, to come in, and you know, from DNA to Oakland Seed Co. to Tiki Man to Leaf Works to Maven Genetics and Rebel Grown, and you know, all the homies, you know what I mean, that were there.
JJ.
You know, JJ, Top Dog Seeds, exactly. Barney Farms, Abstracts that dropped their new Century program, and just literally like, it's dope, man. They're dropping some real science with studying our profiles, and I love just all the different aspects of the village.
Yeah, he was breaking it down for me. I loved it, man.
They killed
I
it
spent
with that.
3 days there, and most of my time was spent around that area. Not only because it was fun and it had a vibe, but also because of the panels, bro. I got to go back to that. It's like the way you curated that.
I love that.
I watched a bunch of panels throughout the week. Your panels, I was literally like, when's the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, we got an hour, I want to
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah.
And then I would get frustrated because how many people were coming up to talk. And I'm like, dude, I want to hear Red
Yeah,
Swan.
exactly.
I want to hear what Sherb's talking about. Like, I really felt engaged, bro. And that's not easy to do because I had spoke on one and it, like, the nerves was like, holy shit, what, you know, what are you going to talk about? And then to see some guys come up there and just really open up.
Yeah.
And you can tell their journey through what they're speaking on, because you're like, he's speaking right to us.
Yeah.
Like, he's speaking to the industry. This is what we need.
Like in real time.
Yeah, I just so much passion, and you can't replicate that. Like, you have to be there and you have to feel it. Like, it reignites your spark. Like, there's so many people that listen to the show that are like, man, I got back into growing because of you. because I listen to guys like Sherb and Pelly and Serge and these people, whoever touched them was like, that guy's like me, man. I've been through that.
Yeah.
And he kept going like, hold on, put the light back up, or like get back into it. Like that's this too. Go into these panels or involving yourself, and people are like, oh, it's Chad Fest. Not if you're around the right groups, it isn't. Everyone I connected with is as far away from that side of things as you can get. So I just want to touch on that. No,
Can I say something to that
it's
though?
this.
Can I say something to that?
Yeah.
And to speak of this, I feel like part of my calling in life, it truly is to be a bridge between that corporate world and the culture, and the breeders and the growers, because I do have a business sense, and I and everything that I went through in 10 years in Sherbinski's, and the tens of millions of dollars that were put into Sherbinski's, and
Partnerships,
the rise in of everything,
contracts.
all of it, mergers, everything I've been through the whole thing. So I think just what was this? I was
Being able to basically like teach lessons and host this platform.
Saying through it all, through all of it. Yeah.
but
To help
just
navigate.
basically be able to take that experience and help people avoid those type of situations.
Yeah.
That's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we need. And that's to build that bridge between corporate, what you were talking about, and then the industry, the guys that are actually running the industry, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, that's where you
thank
go.
you. That was
Yep.
what I was talking about.
Yep.
It's like just to be able to, because to speak to your point, up until this year, everyone's like, oh, it's Chad Fest, it's this, I don't want to go to that, it's a waste of time. Even some of the bigger companies, what's the ROI on that? I don't want to spend the money on this.
Right.
Like, man, that's not what it's about. It's like there's an opportunity here where this is going global, and somebody has to just bring those people. And really, to speak to what you're saying, I got to give it up to all the people that I called, and I think those panels and those conversations is truly what made it, because it's the people.
Yeah.
And I think everybody I called, from Brian to Mace to Abstracts, and their whole the team of doctors that broke down and analyzed, to Leafworks and Eleanor and all the professionals that are masters at their craft. And when I asked them to do it, they were totally willing to do it, and everything was sort of built off them. They're the ones that brought their crowd, and they're the ones that brought something that was totally different. And then the guys that we're talking about, I think I just wanted to, all aspects of it. I think what's important right now, like a lot of people are breeding for hash, and now instead of just selling flour, if certain genetics, if you're able to make it into hash, it's actually more profit for these farms. So there's a lot of, and then going down into the science and organic, or growing that organically versus not. And so I had all the people, so there were just so many different facets, and I just have to thank again everybody that I called that were willing to like put in the time, and it was just awesome, man, because I love hearing what you're saying about how I felt like everybody took something from it. Or my favorite part, can I tell you what my favorite one was?
Yeah, and I want to tell you mine after.
All right. Very first one, it was when I had JJ and I had 10 SDs for that, Stardog and Chem, and then, with Ken, with Grand Eddie Perp, and then I think the DNA guys. But it was just cool, man, because I feel like that was what was a vibe to me, because hearing these guys, I don't know, man, like all of us are getting older, and like if you look at Ken, like he's older, man, and he was like telling stories about how he was in a wheelchair and he was able to get off on a grow, and then the cops, when his friends would get busted, he would actually go and call the sheriff and tell them that it was his grow and risk going to jail, because he knew that he was like, hey man, if I'm telling you it's my grow, you want to go? And he's just there, just like, Ken, all right, man, it's your grow. And like, this is the kind of shit that these guys were doing. And I mean, I saw a glimpse of it in the 90s, and I saw like, the stories, and being in the Bay Area and being around people like Trust, like where all of this came from, especially like even Gelato and the history before, and our friends, it's deep, man. Like there's a lot of history from the Bay Area and shit that goes down from Humboldt and on. And so,
Yeah, so many untold stories, and so many, so many warriors that
People.
have been people, that are, maybe even no longer here with us, but so many people that have put in work in order for this. Now what is an industry, before it was just a culture and a space, but now what is an industry? So many people it required so many people's energy, whether it was music, whether it was physically cultivating, was it just everybody had a hand in it into what it is today, you know what I mean? And so a lot of that is just important to not forget all the people. We're all standing on shoulders of giants. You know, you have somebody like Ben Dronkers who's up in the hills of Afghanistan, getting the seeds, bringing them to Amsterdam, all these kind of countless stories that I've heard around, you know, throughout my life, and just being in touch, I kind of like old enough to kind of see that old school world of the 70s and the smugglers and the gentleman's game that it kind of used to be, and just being in touch with that and seeing how San Francisco, where I was from, was this crazy mecca and hub at that time. And honestly, the best weed in the world from California, from, you know, from San Francisco. It's like, you know, Humboldt, like all these places, like all the people, you know, Santa Cruz, even Salinas, all these different areas that had their hand in getting the culture where it is today. You know, it's super, super interesting to see and to think about.
I'm glad you brought that up, man, because, you know, we're Bay Area guys. Like, that's how we met. Like, I don't live in the Bay anymore, but I got to give it up. The time that I was in the Bay Area and what I was able to do and the weed I had access to and the people I met, I mean, it's not what people really think, man. Like, San Francisco's fucking can be really grimy. Like, in the sunset and shit, like, shit went down, bro. And in that time, it was like you had, like, on every other block, you had Chinese blowing up places, and they had gambling and prostitution and stuff, and just in your regular homes, dude. And then you had all types of people growing.
People blowing up, you know, Shatter Labs, houses blowing up, like literally blowing up.
People like dirty cops,
hella gangs,
like doors,
home invaders,
like unders all over, bro, and you know, like thieves and people coming from across the bay,
expensive rent,
and like not what you expect. So it was like it was the Wild West, and like it was just what a lot of this movement and a lot of this shit came from. It came out of that kind of energy. It's crazy. Like they say, like some major things come out of chaos, you know, and like it was just the Bay Area.
Like the prohibition of alcohol and what it's turned into. Now it's just like what, a trillion,
Bay Area's a bunch
trillion dollar industry.
Easily,
but it's
easily.
started in the same thing. You had gangsters shooting it out in clubs and all this different stuff and control. And I mean, it ultimately comes down to control and taxes is what it all boils down to. And as you see, as these systems get into place where they figure out how to tax the plant and get their money off it, then now it's legalized. But a lot of times first they let the culture in, right? They let the artist in order to like develop the culture. That's the fastest way and the most affordable.
That's
way.
right.
Like in New York it happened, boom.
Yeah.
The culture hit the ground and hit like this, just using an example, it happens everywhere, but it just like hit like wildfire. Now it's like people are out on the streets selling cannabis on tables, you know, right next to cops. There's every store, every corner bodega's got weed and everything, you know. But now what's happening is they're coming in, they're regulating, they're drawing it back. You know, now that the culture has flourished, right? But now it's getting reined back in, and now, you know, obviously the tax systems and all the things need to are going into place. But I mean, you know, it's part of the thing in order for the legal stores to survive and everything. There is like has to be some sort of checks and balances.
There is.
You know, so, but it is what it is. But it's interesting how the culture is what precedes all of this big business.
You know, unfortunately, I've heard word through the grapevine that there's signals that New York, my family out there in New York, please. This is don't shoot the messenger. But I've been hearing that things are already signaling on a downward side, and from meaning when you get like 30-day, you know, late payments, and then you get 60 days, then after 60 days, it starts to be like, uh-oh, you know, people aren't, it's like one thing, you get a little thing on the front, and then they can't pay after the 30, they can't pay after 60, but, you know, remember, there's only like 100 dispensaries that are really like pumping a lot of this, and it's starting to get really saturated and competitive, and then as more grows come online, and as we know from every single state, we're not pointing fingers, it's like it starts to get pricing starts to get more competitive, and so it's interesting because I still think there's a lot to be figured out in New York, and I really.
It kind of comes down. This is what's happening in California, and it kind of boils down to a lot of legislation and tax. Like, I mean, this is an industry that's over-regulated and overtaxed, and unfairly compared to other industries, whether you look at cigarettes or, I mean, well, you know, maybe that's a bad example, but alcohol and so many other industries, it's overtaxed and overregulated, and they stifle the business to the point it can't survive. So many small mom and pops here in California are not going to make it and haven't made it. There's so many people kind of folding up, and you know, but like you say though, in New York, it's kind of like you start to see the same thing. It's like the point of entry is like super high, right, for cannabis. So it's like it costs so much money to even get a business started. Between by the time you're done with permits and the cost of doing business, just everything that goes into it, it's like, you know, it's tough. There needs to be more support for the small business, and more relief in a sense, so they can flourish and have a chance to do good business.
The guys that are in there now though are already got a foothold. There's gonna be a lot, you know, some of the people they're making $1.5 million like a month, or you know, and they're doing really well. If you got in at the right time and you have retail, I think there is still people that are gonna do really well.
Yo, speaking as a New Yorker, and we were there when it came, I guess around, you know, the gifting time. This is first recreational. We were the first guys in Brooklyn to kind of be there, and even on the Lower East Side, Legacy NYC. I think a lot of times what you're saying about supporting the small guy, we were that mom and pop, but we were fortunate because we had our finger on the pulse and we're able to be in rooms that people couldn't be in, but a lot of other people aren't able to be there. So we knew, we saw the signalings too, mainly because of the inept behavior of like, I mean, how corrupt can New York government get the most? We know that, you know what I'm saying? So along with the hustle and the capital, the potential capital gain or capitalist mentality comes with like the downside of like, how does this work when everybody got their hand in the pot, or you know? So, you know, it's ripe with all kind of, you know, contradictions. I wish the best for people who get licensed. Those are my friends, you know, the happy monkeys of the world, and you know, shout out to Vlad and them. But for all, as many as there are of them, there are many who should have it and who are really all the legacy guys who not gonna sit on equal footing. And even if handed the license, like you said, it's a real climb to get all of that shit together. You really gotta have your coin together at the right time. It's gotta be like a perfect alignment. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just wanna see us not lose, meaning I mean us, the people who paid the price, you know, the ones who did the sweat equity and who hold the cultural currency, miss out on like the big boom. And
also,
that's what's, you know.
People that are on the other side, like you say, who are still gonna be affected by laws, because right now, you know, you could be rolling around New York with 5-10 pounds. Now you might be facing some jail time.
Yep.
A store over here who's got a piece of paper that says they can sell it, they're good. So like that's still happening. People are still affected, but in legal states, still affected by unjust cannabis laws.
That's right.
Based on like basically you're not paying taxes for this ultimately, so now you're going to jail or you're gonna have a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there still needs to be some way, some reprisal, some way that you can work that out and say, look, all right, you got caught with the 5-pack, or you got caught with some cannabis that's not legal, part of the system. All right, well, you got to pay a tax thing, but you don't have to go to jail or something like that.
Exactly.
There needs to be some sort of, that line is so blurred right now that there needs to be cleared up. People who get caught with cannabis that are nonviolent, like that needs to be just like, that needs to be,
Well,
that shouldn't be an issue. Maybe you get a little ticket, a little something, they get their money and keep it moving, but not that you got to go sit down and go to jail, and it affects your whole family, your livelihood, and your future. You know?
And that is the path to like connecting the legacy to like legitimate, because you know, they decriminalize, but without the like a real, like you said, legitimate plan like that really works. Like, well then fuck, what are we talking about? People still going to jail for weed right now, and when it's legal, why? That's crazy. But you know, it's a catch-22 in the system. So
their answer is the social equity system, but then you have the problem where these people that win these social equity licenses, they often don't have the skills or the money to be able to do the business, and so suddenly that's where the hawks come in, and you know, and it's just you create this system that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
It's you know, but there is some people, you know, and which is again few and far between. The Vlads, which rightfully he was one of the first people who had a dispensary that we all would go to,
Yeah.
there's certain people that really, truly, and he's been, I remember from day one, he was, so,
Yeah.
and not to count anybody out, but, it's challenging and it's set up that way.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And the thing is, I remember when I first went to New York and everybody was really like wide-eyed and happy and like, hey, and if you even gave any kind of skepticism or anything, people felt like you're being negative or something, and it's like, I'm like, nah, when you've been through this and you know what this looks like, it's just a matter of time. There's like a cycle where
It's a marathon.
everything gets built, everybody's happy, everyone has jobs, making money, everything's good, and then
Yeah.
suddenly the oversaturation, because I'm yet to see a state that's figured it out perfectly, and that's why I think globally there's a chance that the system, there's still like Germany's a big country and they smoke a lot of weed.
Yep.
Australia is a big country, they smoke a lot of weed. There's big, remember, America's only a certain percentage. It's under 20, of the global market.
I do think you got to rethink it. I don't think America's getting it right. I hope that there is a whole rethinking of how this works. So because I think this plant can really do a lot of people a lot of good if there's not a lot of greed and people tight-fisting it. We could probably really do a lot with it. Like we were saying earlier, you could feed industry. That so many industries could benefit if we allow it to happen. But yeah,
When it federally goes, when it federally becomes legal,
yeah,
who knows, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's changing drastically, and that's why I think, I like the word council, but that's why I think more groups need to be put together of people who have their heart and their mind in the right place to help, because a lot of these states, when they come online, they don't consult anybody. They don't consult other states.
Yeah.
They don't say like, is this working? Okay, what's not working? And then build your infrastructure that way. They don't talk to cultivators, not in the way they need to, or who are the right cultivators they need to speak with, people in multiple states, people who have scaled businesses, not someone who had a base hit one time.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Or knows the theory of cannabis cultivation or the theory of extraction, like actual extractors that like, what does it really take? How much do we really need to, the voice of the plant, I love it. Mario. I love what you guys are putting together. I only bring this up because I think someone has to catch some plane flights.
I do.
I think we're at about.
Dude, what time is it?
Yeah?
I thought he moved his flight.
Okay.
Yeah, move it to later.
If we can still go.
No, yeah, I looked at the clock and I was like, holy shit.
Unless you want to stop.
What
we can
time is
still
it?
go. It's on
Yeah.
Oh, 5:30.
Well, what I did
Okay.
want to ask about is Tim.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little bit of background, bro, on growing up?
Growing up
Yeah.
in Holland.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Do you mean like getting weed in the early days?
Yeah, and just like, how did you get into this?
I grew up in a little farm town called Best. It's close to the city of Eindhoven in the south of Holland. Not too many coffee shops around there. So we were basically dependent on home growers, people that had some plants or managed to get a hold of something and then would sell that. And then when I was, I think 15 or something, we were riding through the forest and we found a dump where they would have dumped all the plants from a grow. And we were like, shit, like, let's take some clones of that. Like, my buddy had some bad background and that's like, I can make clones from that. And we did it, and we put them all on the windowsill, and that was my really first experience. And then later, yeah, like I told, we went to Amsterdam, and that's where you had Sensi Seeds, and that's where you could get your hands on some real genetics. Then it went from there. You go to your grow shop. There you have your little group of people that you connect with. Grow shops would always sometimes, take your stuff off you. You had a lot, that was also dangerous. Then later, I was working in a grow shop even, and police started taking them down one by one because they knew they were like places that were for the illegal market where you can bring your stuff. So not many stayed, and eventually that's how I also entered Sensi, because I wanted to work in the legal cannabis market. I saw where this was going here in America. The legalization was happening. That's how I ended up at Sensi, working with those genetics, getting to know them, Getting to go to the farm, seeing those old 40-year-old moms, and learning about the history what Ben did makes me so proud, because that guy is like, yeah, of course he made his money, but he gave, I think, more than 3/4 back to the community. By, you saw those places, right? The storage, the museum. It's full of
You guys
stuff.
gotta do a whole episode on just.
Well, we'll
Yeah,
have you
it's
over.
collect-
No, I'm gonna have to, our videographer, I'm 100%, when we come through Spanibus, we're gonna go see Josh from Raw. I'm gonna go see this factory, like 100-year-old factory, and we're always, and like some of the other stuff I wanna do is I wanna come back to Amsterdam
Yeah.
either before or after, link up. I'd love
You
to,
definitely.
whatever we can, have some good conversations and film some cool shit.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a cool rapper story about Amsterdam right quick? I promise. And we need a black thought emoji at the bottom of the, because we've mentioned him a couple of times. But check real quick shit. Like, so we used to go through, and she sit at the coffee shops. I want to say this the early 2000s, whatever. And so yeah, that was the way we smoked weed. It was cool. I loved the hash, and it was different because it was like, wow, and the mix with tobacco and weed. We were all purists always, so they always looked at us like, why are you smoking so pure? And so boom. Black Thought put me on. So we happened to be in Europe at the same time. We're like, let's meet in Amsterdam. He's like, I'm gonna show you something. So we go to Amsterdam, and then we catch a train to Rotterdam. And he says, yo, we're gonna go to this flower shop. And so we go to a flower shop, and I'm thinking he's talking about flowers, but it is actually like a greenhouse, but then there's a section that just has these stalks of like weed and like big stalks. So like he goes and he asks for the flowers, and they give him like 4 huge stalks with like the buzz on it like this, and he cracks them in half, and we stuff them in a bag, and then we catch the train back to Amsterdam, and that's how we smoked. We smoked big. We didn't have to go to them coffee shops.
That's fine.
Crazy.
Mine.
Yeah. I was like flower shop, funny.
Yeah, we did it once with, like Gutter called me, and he said you gotta go down to Paradiso now, man. Ice-T is waiting for you. So I went down to the museum. We have in Amsterdam one of the few places where we can show people how to grow. We have a grow room in the middle of the red light district with 5 plants that are tolerated. So I went there, and I saw some. We got some weed from our storage, and we brought it over to Ice-T, and he was also amazed that it was kind of like a similar story.
It was crazy to get the big shit.
Yeah, how is the licensing going? In Amsterdam right now, is it successful? Or are people getting online, or I know it's taking longer than it should?
Yeah, we have this little it's called the experiment, the closed coffee shop experiment. They got some people to get a license to grow. We split it up in sections, like districts. That's starting to take off. There are the people like some people like Hollandse Hoogtes. They are making weed now. Case from Extractor, son of the guy who started the Sativa Seed, Super Sativa Seed Club. Case, very good hash maker. Now also got his hands on a legal facility. So that's going good. It's still weird though, because it's not legal. It's a tolerance policy. They have these. It's a weird system. It's a test that they want to do 10 years, and then you got Germany already like legalizing. Also not completely, because I heard it's a bit difficult in certain provinces. It's same as like in here. It's more state to state. They like in Bavaria, it's way different to start something up with weed in Germany. But we're getting there. like when you saw Mary Jane Berlin, the cat's out of the bag. It's crazy. These European expos. Yeah, it's so happily you guys are paving the way now with legalization, and then we are following that. But it took 40 years. We have this weird tolerance policy for 40 years. Yeah.
People don't realize when you go to Amsterdam, I didn't realize this, and I've been in the industry 22 years. I went there and I didn't realize, holy shit, the cops are not cool with this, especially with cultivation.
Yeah.
So you're known for cannabis, and you're in a city where people are smoking in coffee shops and has hospitality geared towards that. But when you talk about cultivation, everyone's like, shh.
It's still 90%.
You don't know where it's going.
And it's like,
Cool to sell it, but
How this kid
just
it's
falls out of
crazy.
the
to the point where I was like, well, they can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle. And then they were like, no, they went after they went after grow shops.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Like, what a way to cut the head off the snake.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah, we've been dealing with that though, you know that.
right, yeah, it was. I was like, this takes us. But to think like that was the cannabis mecca, and they carried the torch for so long. And then now you see the torch get passed back to California and the U.S. But
Absolutely, yeah.
I can't wait for those projects to be proven right. That's why I asked about the cultivation, so that we can continue this torch together, that we keep passing back and forth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We're getting there. We're like the first legal cannabis that I tested was like, we're not there yet. It's like, that's why you see mostly American stuff still in the coffee shops.
Wow.
But also hash is a big market in Holland. That you can, the large market wants the Moroccan stuff, you know, and the stuff that's really from the Middle East, like Pakistan and the charas, and that will not be coming from the weed experiment because that cannot be made in Holland. The conditions are too different.
Wow.
So that's why a lot of coffee shops don't want to join that whole experiment. Also, it's like 90% of our customers come here for our hash. We're not allowed, Plus the competing side, if it's one grower, like imagine Amsterdam having one cultivator. Like how are they supposed to compete with each other if they all have the same strains? Yeah, so people will go to their closest one, and a lot of the prime coffee shops will lose their clientele because they can go around the corner and get the same shit. So it's they really still need to figure it out, that part.
This is why we'll go back to Voice of the Plant, and that things like this are needed because there needs to be an alliance of guys that have so much knowledge. I mean, just sitting at this table, it's about 100 to 120 years worth of cannabis knowledge and dedication. Like, I started running that number and I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, we have a
So-
40-year anniversary
See what
next
I'm
year.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be able to line these people up and to say, hey, these are authorities not only in their sector, but they also have connections to be able to put you with the right people so that when Amsterdam decides to roll out legalization, they don't do it like every single state.
Yeah,
Over
exactly.
and over. Like,
Yeah.
they've never seen it before. I don't know how this is going to go. Let's just see what happens. It's like, no, this has been done 100 times already. Now just get to the right people and build the infrastructure
Yeah.
to say, like, here's the issues you're going to run into, so here's the game plan.
Yep. Yep.
So the funny thing is also still like around the reason why we were never allowed to fully go legal was because of countries like Germany, France, Belgium, which are bordering us, and they were saying from no, you can't legalize because then our civilians will go into
Your country and
So
but
that's why they also like the coffee shops at the border. You can only get there with your Dutch passport. Like my buddy AK went there from death row to Maastricht, which is southern point of Holland, where three countries come together. Like you have Holland, Germany, and Belgium. And they're like you don't get in. Like he couldn't get in.
wow.
They still deal with that in America because, like, Kansas sued Colorado.
Yeah.
Because they were like, the amount of law enforcement they've had to up because people driving back with weed, they were
Wow.
us. And it's like, that's insane. Like, you're going to sue it just a lot. Like, come on.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Because you can just drive like 100 meters. There's guys like, oh, come here, I'll help you. You
Same
know?
in
Yeah.
Michigan.
So,
That's the whole point, though. You know, it happens in New Mexico and Texas over here.
Michigan.
States need to wake the fuck up, man.
Yeah.
And legalize and, like
Yeah.
Cutter says, legalize.
And then
Lies, yeah.
learn from the other states what they did right and what they did wrong. And then think longevity. Not how hard can we squeeze this, how fast.
Yeah.
Get the 36% taxes,
Hey,
you know.
what I noticed though, Lance, just to speak to that?
Yeah.
I think like what keeps on coming in my head and where I kind of got jaded by, I mean, look, I was in the first state that got medical. And so I saw it go from, I forget the sequence, but it was like Oregon, Washington, Arizona. These were all these states that were just starting to come on, and you had all these opportunities. And the thing is, like, everybody thinks that, we're gonna learn from this one, and they rewrite it. But really, what it comes down to is, bro, it's like the people that have the money that come in. It's a lot often the people that actually know how to grow good product and actually are from it. They don't match, you know what I mean? The corporate money, and then they know that at some point, I mean, look at, look at Serge, like he's a perfect example. Like, just at some point, there's money, and whether you're gonna put your bread up or whether you're gonna bring investors, you're gonna partner with other people. it doesn't always work out, and that goes whether you have a big cultivation, whether you have a dispensary, whether it isn't. It becomes extremely competitive, because even if you're passionate and you come from it and you put it all up yourself, like you're always going to be up against other entities, beasts that are like putting in marketing, whatever. So it's incredibly competitive, and I think you can't escape that. You can't escape like bigger business, corporate business that's going to come in and a lot of money. And I think it just, and especially when you don't have it, when you don't have the capability to like actually, I guess, just like create a system that works, you know. And we've looked at what hasn't worked in every single state, and it keeps on happening in every state. So I've lost kind of, I think, like it's the fact that people want to come in, they want to build things up, and and people that do it right, they sell, and those are the people that make the money in it. But then a lot of people are left in the wake of that. So that's just kind of, not to be cynical or anything, but if you look at the history of each state to state, that's what's happening.
And home growing, right? Like it's not just, it's nice if you can have your dispensary around the corner and get your flower.
Yeah, exactly.
The only program that legalization program that we fully support is if you're able to have a little tent with a lamp and grow your own shit at home, you know.
The consumers win, though.
That's,
I mean,
that's the mo.
in terms of access, though, I'm happy that now, like before, back in the day when we were scoring sacks, people were getting killed for eights and little transactions and things, and you know that still happens, but it happens a lot less when somebody knows they can just go up to the store and, you know, with security, your grandma, your aunt can go and have access. So I do believe in 100% in safe access.
Yeah.
So there is a trade-off to it, that it can't just be selfish. It can't just be about lining our pockets. We have to, you know, I mean, I just want to give a different side of it, that, you know, that is a change that I think is a positive one.
Yeah.
That people, I mean, the numbers will show you, like, you know, people are putting down the alcohol, they're putting down the other opiates and other pills when they know that, because I've said this many times, it's not just about having weed, it's about having good weed.
Yeah.
And if you can have good weed and you're like, damn, I don't need those pills because I get high as shit.
Yeah, of this, yeah.
I don't need this Omnia or whatever. I don't need to take these sleeping pills because I go to bed off this indica, certain strain that I take, and I believe in that.
You remember the early days of, 215 going back in California, you would go into these little dispensaries that were not yet fully licensed, maybe had, their members and their growers permits that they gathered and their people in order to operate and stuff.
Yep.
But you would come in there and there would be people, genuinely sick people that were in wheelchairs, that were handicapped, that had real health issues, that were able to come in there and have access to real medicine.
The vapor room.
And that's also
Shout out
like,
to Vapor Room.
Shout out to the vapor room. Yeah.
missing now, you know what I mean? And that, I saw that with my own eyes there. Even dating back to the first time I actually sold weed to a dispensary, when Dennis Perrone first opened up his own first dispensary in San Francisco, in Church and Market Street. I actually went, and I was actually friends originally before that, but with Perrone himself, but actually to walk in and bring some pounds and actually sell them in this dispensary model that Dennis Perrone had kind of had a hand in kicking off. So, but like Sher was saying though.
A lot of history right there, bro.
Yeah.
Big history, yeah.
Dennis giving through compassion, just not to take away, but
So that was it. Going back to even Burner, the vapor room burners, where he was working out in the avenues on Geary, and then of course Dennis coming back all the way to Dennis Perrone's shop on Market Street, the church there, just seeing the people that would come in that were generally elderly people or handicapped or had real issues, and that type of access. Like, what happened to that? Because the price of entry now for people is so high that they can barely get anything. I mean, back then it'd be like, everybody be smoking, you could go buy an eighth of some $80 weed, but also it'd be like, here goes a sack of shake or whatever, you smoke or whatever. It was all like that love and that community and that support, which is like really missing, also now, of course, but looking back to talking about the money thing and the big boys and everything, but we've all seen billions and billions of dollars pour in, different companies themselves just be billions and billions and still not be able to make it in this industry. You know what I mean? And yet here's somebody like yourself or myself or Serge or even Sensi that's, basically legacy, just, organic, just guerrilla, approach from initially, and then we've evolved it, but we're still here even after years and years. It's like I've been growing since 38, 37 years or whatever, practically 40 years I've been growing, and I'm still here, and even through all the ups and downs and watching all the changes in this culture and now industry, to see where it's going, but just to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm still here doing what I love, what I'm passionate about, cultivating, making cool new strains, working with people, because it isn't all about the money. I enjoy working, the energy that I get and that we generate together, doing cool creative things together, whether it's music, whether it's cannabis, cooking, art, clothing, but just be able to do that. And that's really the story that I want to bring, and what keeps my brand and the culture in general alive is that it's not only just all the money and the big corporate stuff that just will come and go. As you see, you could have, $50 billion and you lose it all, and now you're back at square one. But ultimately, it's something you can't wash over or discredit, and realize that it's the culture and it's the threads and it's the community and it's people like us that really care about this plant and the strains. This is what keeps it going.
I agree, man. Well said, brother.
Well said.
And big up to you,
Well
man.
said.
Honestly,
Yeah.
going back to what we were talking about, when you came back kind of into the scene, and I remember I was doing my thing, and I remember a lot of my homies that were, dude, where we come from, with no one, the growers you knew, you didn't say your name, people didn't know your spots, like no one was coming out, and that's one of the things I'm proud of, like when I started going and doing that. And I remember we were talking, I was like, listen, we were just friends, and we were talking about doing things, and I offered opportunities, and I remember you're like, oh, that's not the right thing, and I don't want to drop it now. And I always respected that, like, I knew that it wasn't that you didn't want to, like, work with me, never gave me that vibe, but I respected the fact that you knew it had to be in your time. And to look at you now, bro, and the fact that you did it your way. You know what I mean? You didn't do it my way. You didn't do it, the other homies' way. You did it your way, and I just want to say, I respect that, and I see how like the community gravitates towards you, and like you're really truly a good person. And I think like we're happy, we're lucky to have you. So I just want to say that to my friend.
Same.
I don't think we give each other enough.
I concur.
Enough things, but my wife really, thinks you're a good person, and she's tough. Like she, she doesn't like everybody, so
She knows everything. And there's a no voice like a Champelli voice.
I'm saying
Like,
it
when I
is,
hear
right?
Get on the mic, I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
there's some good storytelling.
Yeah,
Let's go.
yeah.
the tone in which he speaks, if you know him in person, is pretty true to him.
Yeah.
Let's go get something to eat.
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah, man.
to side note, you've been traveling hella. What do you see now? You just came back from where?
I was just actually down in Argentina, and just getting ready after, hitting Mexico City, seeing the culture there, earlier in the year, hitting Thailand, hitting Czechoslovakia, hitting Germany. Sherb's also been on some of these journeys and seeing some of these things that I'm seeing, but it's really, in each one of these countries, the cannabis culture is just like, everybody is just excited, you know what I mean? As there is more and more ability to come out of the closet, come out of the shadows, you know what I mean? And actually be able to share the plant, share your love for the plant, and not have to like be, in your apartment just super worried that you're gonna get busted or whatever it is. It's more and more people are coming out, and you see the joy in people's faces and the excitement. And like down in Argentina, I would hand somebody a sticker, a Champelli sticker, and like 5 or 6 other people would come over and be like, want a sticker, you know what I mean? Like it was like that type of excitement, or want to know what you're doing or where you're from or whatever. And there's these markets are slowly developing and emerging, and there's a lot of potential obviously for growth. And for myself, the way I'm looking at it is I'm going early into these markets to seed my brand and to start to build the culture of my brand there, and also just meet and network with just beautiful people that are doing their thing there, you know what I mean? So it's like down the line, first comes just like the relationships and the love for the plant, ultimately for me. And then from there, it's like organically, naturally, things start to happen, you know what I mean? It's like once you meet the right people and people you vibe with, and it's always in business, is always about like good vibes and how you can actually relate, and do you really want to work with this person in a long-term sort of thing, right? But in these countries, I'm seeing it. There's like in Argentina, there's lights, there's nutrients, there's 700 grow shops in Argentina.
Holy
So you know what I mean? And then so people are doing clones, people are doing seeds, and but still the flowers, like they have Retrocan, I think it's called. It's a card, it's a medical card right now in Argentina. So you can do, be a medical patient there, and you can actually get these cards, But I mean, there's a lot of people doing a lot of work on the ground there. It has its history, just like every country with cannabis. And now it's coming to light, but there is a lot of people, shout out to like Universal Growing, my homies down there. They're actually doing a shop called Guid, Guid, and the shop is an old Burger King with a drive-through and a glass gallery, a cafe, and a lounge, and a cultivation all attached. Literally all of it getting ready to happen. So you could place your order and actually drive through and pick it up, go inside the lounge, buy some glass, get a coffee, kick back in the lounge, smoke your stuff.
This is what we need here.
And I'm like,
We
wait
do.
a second, hold on.
We do.
So there's people like that pushing the culture forward. They're one of one down there in a sense, and really in the world, honestly, right? So it's like, that's in Argentina happening right now, So
And we're in California, and we don't even have places.
Wow.
Lounges or millions of dollars, and
Wow.
you have to buy their product to go. I mean, it's crazy.
So that is one of the things that has stifled the market and the business side of cannabis in California. Is there's no public sort of lounge situation place you could go and enjoy in a civilized way your plants, your smoke, have a coffee, talk to your friends, just like in Amsterdam in that sense, right? So imagine what that would do for consumption.
Yeah, it
You know what
would.
I mean? And building the culture.
West
Like,
Hollywood.
yeah, there's like shout out to Woods, you know what I mean?
Paradise.
Yeah.
What are the other, I know we talked about Woods on the last show, but what are
There's
the
the
other?
Woods. There's Paradise Med, which is probably leading the charge right now as far as like people really
Some of these
liking
are
that
pretty
model.
sick, though.
Yeah, they are, but you had to buy $1 million license. Just the same thing we talk about
Right.
with the infrastructure of like it needs to be more open. Like
Yeah.
if you wanted to do a cool arcade, an adult arcade, or like kind of the stuff, some of the infrastructure I saw in Denver early on, where they were like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna do it," and the city can figure it out, or they
Yeah.
can come get us. Like that, a lot of freedom fighters ran to Denver in
Yeah.
2010, and you saw that where people were like the lazy lion, just like lounges that were like, no, this is going to be the vibe and we know what it should be, and you don't make $1 million off of a hospitality
Right.
license, right? Like that's what you're ultimately selling. It's a hospitality. And what about for people that you just want to bring your own weed and they want to get into that business? It's like that's
You want
not,
to be able to promote entrepreneurs, to be able to
Yes.
create spaces for people to consume safely.
not all of us have to grow it, extract it, breed it, you know what I'm saying, sell it. There's so much ancillary and other stuff that I just wish they would lower the bar a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely an entry point. And I mean, New York, for example, I saw that there for the first, year or two, where it's just like, man, everybody had a chance to, at their hand at the business in a sense, which was pretty cool in a way. There's like a lot of ways, everybody just smoking everywhere. There's no, I mean, it was great.
New York, since New York took the
level.
vibe and the culture to a new level.
Yeah.
Like Cali had it for some, but when you go there, it's like this is like the Cali on the East Coast. I know the New Yorkers aren't going to like to hear that, but it really is to the point where like when you go there, you're not like, oh, it's hard to get weed or no one's smoking weed. It's like this is just like Cali. The vibe
Right,
is
right.
hot.
Yeah, it is.
And now we're on the East Coast in one of the biggest, best cities in America.
Yeah.
Like talk about creatives. Holy shit. And the energy. I mean, very few places on earth are New York energy wise.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
energy there is unmatched. New York for me, definitely one of my favorite cities, between the food, the culture, the people, everything. It's like that's what honestly, you look at it, it's just like I wish certain other cities would catch on to that. But it's also because of where they are. I mean, you're so
Yeah.
close to Europe. You have so many different cultures there, and it's such an old city that it's just really just alive, that city. I mean, I know
Yeah.
Serge loves that city.
Evan,
You can just walk down the street. Sorry, Lance.
No,
Yeah.
Did you have a go-to strain?
I mean,
Did you have one thing that you're like, man, when I'm trying to get creative or I'm trying to write, I like to go to this type of strain or this strain?
Well, we started, it was 90s. So, so I would say Dead Prez was in Brooklyn in 96 working, and it was like Kush, you know what I'm saying? It was the definitely Diesel, like the Diesel, well, or what they would refer to as like Piff was like what we wanted to be having. That was the highest vibration I wanted in the room at that time, you know. Yeah, so it was, you know.
It's interesting though, like certain, obviously, as we all know, the different traits of these different strains, the certain energies it brings and certain inspirations. You know, you would have certain herbs that would just have you just so locked in and inspired. As an artist, speaking to the artist, like I find myself when I'm producing or making music or even doing some art or something creative, like certain strains just lock you in.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I mean? And you just are just, it gives you that inspiration. And it really is like certain things, I can't, say it enough, certain ones will just have you so hyped. And that, I remember in the city, there used to be certain people would have little things that I didn't have.
Yeah.
It'd be like, I could be sitting on a bunch of weed, but this guy got some eights, or even I knew women that back then that used to grow and sow weed, and I go buy eights from them. Just how many eights can I get? And eights used to be like $75 in San Francisco, and like, 80, 87, 88, stuff like that. You would find like crazy, like priced weed, but that was just amazing. That would give you a whole nother feeling and experience, it would just like get you juiced,
Something about New York, especially with the variety, but I have to say also, like, there was a time when you could buy a bag of weed for $5. A nickel bag was common, and I gotta say, like, it wasn't a lot of weed, but there was so much variety. So you got Branson who got a beef and broccoli, and half of it is light weed and half of it is dark weed. That's called the beef and broccoli, and one's $5 on one side and $5, so that's a $10 bag. You understand? And then you go, so like, my shout out to Boot Camp Clique. They was smoking like Thai stick. They was smoking these things that I would only get around them crews. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Each little crew would have their own little thing. In cities, it'd be like, oh, I got the Browski, I got the Glory, I got the Weed, I got this, and shout out to Branson, because he's somebody that that when I went to New York, and this is like in 97, 98, I was out there or something, but Branson was popping then, and it was interesting because it was like at the same time I was doing my thing on the West Coast and had like artists rapping about the Champelli and the Champagne.
Yeah.
He had people on the East Coast rapping about the Branson and the jars of Branson. So we had this kind of cross coast parallel thing on the East Coast at that same time. He was doing the Branson, I was doing the Champelli, and we were like two of the brands, like almost only brands I could practically say, that were like actually pushing, had it in the music. People rapping about the strains and stuff,
He's a legend in the New York area. I wish he would do more media. I've tried to reach out a few times to to speak to Branson, because we used to get told the story of like, I want to talk to Samson.
Yeah,
that was actually Branson. Originally I was told. Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
someone was like, no, that was actually based on like Mr. Nice Guy and Branson, just a few legendary things that got put together. But I always wondered if it was true. But yeah, the triangle bags. I mean, come on.
We can close that gap easy. Branson he could definitely.
That'd be fun.
We definitely gotta have him. Now that's
Branson
easy.
got juice on Instagram for people that.
Branson, that's an official invite, man.
Now we gonna
That'd be
have
fire.
The people want to hear.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
for
dude,
sure.
I want to hear. It's the same thing. It's like the reason I'm happy to do this with you. These are guys I looked up to.
Yeah.
I used to hear stories about. They played different roles in the culture, but they all played a role that is so pivotal to where we are now. It's like I'm a fan. It's like being a fan of any music. It's the same thing with these guys.
Yep.
Like I'm just a fan of like, wow, their hit songs, this guy's album.
I might be more of a fan of Champelli than some of these other artists. I'm just saying, I gotta be honest.
Ones that think getting mentioned in like songs, in rap songs, like from like Biggie and a lot of other people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I know some folks from the Bronx that are like deep in the Bronx there, and they're like, they knew Branson, you know, years ago in the 80s. And
Yeah.
said he's been around doing it forever. So
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
legend right there,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So what do we got coming up for Voice of the Plant, Sherb? Are we is Voice of the Plant going to be at Spanibus? Are you doing Mary Jane Berlin? Like, what's it looking like?
Yeah, we did a soft launch for the genetics we're going to be releasing at Spanibus with as part of Breeding Grounds with Sensi Seeds. So we're going to go major with that. All of us are going to be out at Spanibus going big, and I mean, Sensi goes hard, man. So we're like, it's the way we drop it. Even when we do the freebies, man, it's like, what were the guys? I'm sorry, I just met them, but the guys that come out and
Dab stars.
yeah, the Dab stars, and
Shout out to
shout
them,
out to
definitely.
Dab
Join
stars.
out.
Shout out to Dab, so
And,
they
yeah.
hype it up, man.
They've really not dialed this. I've seen them a few times, but what's the guy that actually
Jonah.
So Jonah
Tacoma.
he has this amazing way to just kind of like bring out like just the importance of what we're doing, you know, and makes the plant so special. And what's so cool is like everybody that kind of Sensi has on the team, including Tim. And that's like, we all love Tim.
Thanks,
As you
man.
could tell, he's look at his smile. He's constantly smiling. He's so passionate about what he does. It's like, it's infectious. And I think that's really awesome to be around. But
It is.
everybody on the Sensi team, they're pros, man. These people know the plant. A lot of them grow themselves, or they're involved somehow, their family. It's dope, you know,
Thanks,
that
man.
like, and the legacy and the way that the people, and I don't even think it's really like they're taught, but the way that like Sander and the way that, or Tim, the way that they speak about Sensi Seeds and the way they honor it, it's really fucking cool, man. I just,
Coming back to Jonah though, like the viral moment, like last year at Spanibus, like he was able to like whip up, like talking about the brand, he whipped up like, you know, it was like 50, 60 people around the booth, like within a couple minutes, like boom, just like that. Him got up, he started speaking and like, you know, throwing out some shirts and some stuff like that, but it was just like created this little viral moment like that, you know.
there wasn't even that many people when it started, and
Yeah,
within minutes, dude, it was like people just started coming from everywhere.
Energy, yeah.
Just riffs.
And he goes, these are seeds. And he goes,
amazing.
if I give you these seeds, you have a responsibility to plant it. I'm not, and he didn't go throw. We threw some, but basically we were handing them to people. And it's like, he made it clear, you have a responsibility. Like, will you plant this? People are like, yes. And he goes, and then he tied it back down to like what we're fighting for and like the importance of what we do and what Sensi's done. And he just ties it all in. It's really cool, man.
You know what I like with my boy? Shout out to Evermore Genetics. We had a little
Otter Pops.
project. Yeah, we did the sour pelly pops, which was like a sour cut that I have forever across with his Otter Pops. But what he did free seed day with Masonic down there, and one thing he did, he came and he put his seeds in water in little glass jars and lets them pop. And then he's giving you the popped seeds.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
like,
That's
here you go.
smart.
He's giving on free seed day. Like, here you go, motherfucker.
Right.
You gotta go do
It's
it.
time. It's
You gotta
time.
Countdown has begun.
Put it in your drawer or anything. If you're gonna take it, you're taking it now.
That's
You're
smart.
planting it, and off you go. It was a beautiful
that.
thing.
That's
It was
dope.
really dope, actually. Yeah.
But that's why, you know, Masonic plays his role, right? He's doing stuff like that. I've never seen. I was like, that is so clever.
Yeah.
When I saw that, and then it's shit, like a little seed inside the little glass container, and you're like, dude, you got
Yeah,
2 days.
you gotta go.
To go. Yeah.
You know, you were talking about what's next for VOP.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, we got Spanish and we're doing that, but I also think like really moving into 2025, releasing some of this music. Like we're just, you know, with Don, you know, and the Troyce Riley joint, and then the Dead Prez, you know, dropping the song that we really like. You know, they created the anthem for the Dave Chappelle show, you know, and I feel like this song that we've already made, I think it's going to be the anthem for.
We shall see. We shall
It's really
see.
like a celebration, and it's like I'll get into it more, but just, you know, it's called I Get High.
It's simple. It's simple.
Yeah, it's simple.
It's simple.
So
Yeah.
just get into more of the music, and I think now that people see what we can do with what we did with MJBiz, you know, obviously looking forward to next year for MJBiz, but music project, maybe looking at some dispensaries or some other aspects of the business, and continuing to have direct to consumer with our seeds. And man, just excited.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
dope, man.
Yeah.
Where can they find you, Champelli? Let's go by everybody. Where we going? Voice of the Plant?
I
Or
mean, yeah, Champelli, champelli.co is my website, and then straight Champelli for my Instagram.
Yeah.
And then you can also find, obviously, Sensi Seeds.
Damn,
Smoking that good Champelli right here.
Champelli.co on X. Champelli X on, exactly, on,
what about you, Tim?
Yeah, our Instagram also recently got suspended.
Damn it, Instagram.
Yeah, it's insane.
So, but we still got our sensiseeds.us running on Instagram or on Twitter also. www.sensiseeds.com. That's we have a website also for the US now.
Are some of this project available on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can get the Breeding Grounds project. We're working also on getting the regular catalog. Like we have some regulars also available in the US already, but we're working on getting the rest over here. Next year everything will be here for you guys to work with, also the regular ones.
Serge, man, where can they find you? You've had you got 3. I think I follow 3 different Instagrams.
Yeah.
Serge underscore cannabis, Serge cannabis underscore.
Just follow me on X, man. Let's move the whole community to X.
X, yeah.
We're accepted
Yeah.
and not tolerated.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Elon.
Shout out Elon. You
Go
should
where
buy
you're
that.
celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Yeah.
Yep. So at Cannabis Surge on X. And I have my link tree in the bio, so it has all the righteous handles, so everything going on within my realm. And man, thank you guys for the opportunity and the platform.
Yeah, I mean,
Speak about.
Dude, this is like what I'd want to do on a Sunday.
Right.
I mean, even with the
Hell
cameras,
yeah.
put the fucking cameras away.
Right,
We're
right,
hanging
yeah,
out,
let's blow it down.
talking, like,
Absolutely.
I'm feeding off of energy.
Yeah.
I get to learn from
I
him.
would
Like,
say-
get out of
Come
here.
on, man.
I'd say tell everybody to keep an eye on what everybody here at this table is doing.
That's right.
Lance Blackleaf, first smoke of the day.
Yeah, shout out to you.
Cannabis. Tim, Sensi Seeds. We got M1 Dead Prez.
Dude.
We got Sherbinski, voice of the plant. Man, everybody making moves.
Making
Breeding
moves.
grounds.
That's right.
2025, Champelli. It's all
Cutter,
going on.
Smokenhagen.
Cutter, Smokenhagen. Yes, sir. It's a lot of good movement, all positive. Everybody on the same page, moving in unison. It's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of good, interesting things coming out. So everybody get ready. Keep your eyes on the prize. You already know.
Voiceoftheplant.net, Sherbinski's 415.
Awesome.
Get it.
Yeah,
At Voice of the Plant. Follow us.
Yep. At M1 Dead Prez RBG. You'll see me everywhere in the world next year. He's gonna be right here beside us. We'll be amping each other up. Thank you all for helping me, for letting me sit here and learn from the masters, and thank you
blast,
for
bro. Are you
this awesome platform.
Have you, bro.
Yeah,
Just
for
sit
sure.
with you,
You're
like,
the master.
Yeah, and for everyone listening, if you didn't already know, it's Voice of the Plant, and we're on First Smoke of the Day, and we got all the homies here. So, First Smoke of the Day, Voice of the Plant. Catch us soon.
Peace out.
First Smoke family, if you want more video, unreleased content, stuff we can't put on YouTube, you want early drops, weeks and weeks in advance, FSOTD.com gets you all that. You become part of the family, you get hooked up with early content, you get unreleased content we can't put out on YouTube because we get age restricted and we get strikes, the whole deal. FSOTD.com gets you hooked up like family. But if you just want to keep watching, here we go. Let's let another one roll.